All righty, sports fans, welcome on in. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean today. Of course, I was here yesterday. So I'm a middle reliever, and I'm a closer. So I'm closing out the week today. Friday, of course, you know what Friday is. Friday's fun, fantastic. It's football Friday. We got a little taste of football last night, and we're going to get more this weekend. So, are there any college games yet? Do we have any bowl game? What's the earliest bowl that we actually have? Do we know what that is, James? All right, James is going to look that up because I know that curious minds want to know. Hey, if you missed a part of the show, don't worry about it. You can live stream it on ESPN 700 Sports. You can go to the ESPN 700 Sports app. You can tell your smart speaker to play ESPN 700. Of course, we're on YouTube, so I'm actually famous. I'm on television right now at ESPN 700 Sports Utah on the YouTube, so don't miss a part of what's going on. All right, we got some crazy things going on, and we have some, I think, extremely exciting news, some fascinating topics to discuss today, some marvelous people that we're going to have conversations. So this is going to be a great show. Let's just kick it off right now. Now, this is exciting to me. All right, Bird Ficklin, and I'm a Ficklin fan. I'm a fan of the Bird. He has apparently re-signed to stay at the University of Utah, at the University of Utah for at least a year. Hey, we got him for a year. That's kind of it's kind of like we got this player for a couple of months. We got this player for this drive. Okay, after this drive, he's entering the portal and he's going to go off to who knows where. So we're counting our players minute by minute, drive by drive, day by day, week by week, and year by year. So Bird Ficklin signs back. Well, what the heck does that mean for Devin Dampier? Actually, it's very likely that Devin Dampier is going to stay with the Utes as well. Fascinating dynamic here, actually, with a dual. It's like a dual threat, dual quarterback system. It's a double duo. It's like that secret thing you get at In-N-Out Burger when you say, hey, I want a quad. I don't just want your double-double. I want your double-double quad. I want a quad. By the way, if you don't know this, you can get up to 10 patties. I think they'll give you 10 patties at In-N-Out Burger. Just a little side note that not everybody knows about. Those are the secrets that you learn when you listen to this show. 10 patties, please. So, Bird, Devin, they're the double-double. They're dual threat, dual quarterbacks. And I actually like this. I said it during the season. I said it gives you a dynamic to it literally could be the invention of a new offense. When you have two quarterbacks with the ability to run like they do, you have the ability. Now, the only thing these guys don't do, they don't block. Like, they're not good blockers. They're dual. Like, they run and they throw. They don't block. But imagine having both of these guys at your fingertips. Oh, boy, that gets exciting beyond. I don't even know what I can say. Like, I don't have an adjective for my excitement about the possibilities of this. And they kind of toyed with it, a little bit last year. But they have a whole offseason to get very, very creative. And I think, because I've never been a proponent of if you have two quarterbacks, never. I actually went through that my freshman year at Utah. It was not fun. It was horrible. And we just split time. Just like he played the first half, I played the second half. It was better to play the second half, but it would just be better to play the whole game. At any rate, I played in the second half of the games. Which is fine. Anyways, so I like this system though. I do. I really like this potential, and I don't think they've even come close to scratching the surface of what it looks like. Now, if you're going to ask me if they're going to go with, well, we don't do the two quarterback thing here. If you're going to ask me who I would play, well, I know who I would play, and it's probably controversial. No, it's not controversial. I'd play Bird. Bird to me, I think, has a higher ceiling. He's better throwing the football in the. It's funny how people are like, well, I don't know, he's really good throwing the ball in the pocket. And it's like, no, the kid can. He's got a live arm. He can throw in the pocket, and that's something that really hurt Utah when Devin Dampier couldn't run. So basically, if he dropped back and sat in the pocket, which by the way, I don't know that anyone talks about this. He had all freaking day long to throw. Like, those offensive linemen, not only were they really good run blockers, they were amazing in pass protection. And a lot of it is because most teams were not pinning their ears back to go get the quarterback in the backfield for Utah. So if you're a quarterback, you're like, this is the best situation I could possibly get into, is to have an offensive line. The problem with Devin, though, is that the longer he stayed in the pocket, the more pressure he felt like he had to throw the football. And that's when he got in trouble. And he really, really forced the issue when it wasn't there. And under normal circumstance, I believe if he'd been healthy, he probably would have bolted from a very clean pocket a lot earlier when he just didn't feel like anybody was open. And it's hard. It's hard, to consistently see folks in the pocket, even when you're 6'6". But man, I'm just telling you, as a quarterback, you have all day like that to throw, you're gonna wear a defensive out throwing a football, because they can't cover people that long. They just can't. Nobody can. Not even the great Deion Sanders. Anyways, fascinating. I think exciting news for Utah. You get into this transfer portal stuff, and it's. Oh, boy. I think there's a science to it. And I think it's one of those things where I don't see how Utah like this year can really be uber competitive in the transfer portal, because I don't think they have the money. And this a whole new deal that's come through the gates. It's not signed yet, from what I understand. So maybe it gets signed before the portal window opens, because it really needs to. Because that portal window's once. If you had two portal windows, okay, it's fine. But if you only have one, it's like everybody's got to do their bidding now. Like, this is it. Kind of like there's an opening season for free agency in the NFL and all these other sports, and then once it's done, it's done. And you have to have all your ducks in a row. And your ducks in a row are, you have to know who you're going after. They kind of have to know you're going after them. There's this mutual but very cryptic conversation that happens between players and a school, because the school's just not going to directly go, hey, do you want to come here? Like, no one's going to do that. At any rate, and then they're going to, through the grapevine go, hey, we're going to offer you like $2 million a year or whatever. And so you got to have that in place. And I don't think Utah has that in place this year. So that's a challenge. But the challenge I'm talking about is, where do you put your priorities? Do you say, is it better to keep the guys we have? Is it better to keep a couple of guys we have, go out into the portal, and maybe add a little bit to the portal? And then as it shakes out, right, it's almost like you kind of see where the chips fall, and then there's maybe a second round of the portal, like the latter half of it, where everyone's scrambling. It's like, okay, I didn't get a deal, and the music's about ready to stop, and I need a chair to sit down. It's almost like the NFL. The NFL goes, some of the best rounds you get are free agency or late rounds in the draft, because there's still a lot of, and you can find some gems. You can find some really good players. So maybe that's the strategy. But the thing you really have to be on top of, no matter what, is you have to know every single player. You have to have them all rated and ranked, and you have to have them like, do they fit into our culture? And you also have to say, are they available to us? So Utah has been creative through the years in kind of recruiting in a different way than most people. And this might be the same thing. It may not be all gloom and doom right now, because Utah may say, we found some players. Like, I don't know that Bird Ficklin was highly recruited.
He was a 3-star.
I don't know.
Oklahoma.
Right. I don't know that. And so now it's like, now do you find some 3-stars that are in college now? Now do you find some guys that maybe, I mean, look at Jackson Benny, like, look at JG. You found a lot of players in crevices and rocks and cracks and things that people maybe weren't willing to look at. Maybe they didn't have to look at it. Maybe it's kind of a recruiting ground that you don't have a lot of competition in, so it's, maybe it's easier. But you've got to get, people talk about we got to get creative with our money and our way of generating money. You got to get creative in how you recruit and where you can find talent. I mean, one of the things Utah did a long time ago is they went to Australia to find punters. No one was doing that, and they found some great punters. I mean, all-American punters, all Pac-12 century team punters, Tom Hackett, and now everyone has an Aussie. And now the Aussies go, hey, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that we can negotiate, mate, and we can actually make some money on it? It's like we all thought we had to go to Utah. We didn't know that we could go to. We didn't know we could go to Texas. We didn't know we could go to. And so there's Aussies all over the place now, and none of them are at Utah because they're too expensive now. So where's the next place that you can find good punters? That I'm trying to think of what country. There, because here's the thing: when you kick a ball, your whole life, you just get good at it. Like you just, it's just one of those things. So wherever soccer is big, could you get a punter from England? I think we can find because England's kind of good at soccer, or maybe it's like Portugal. Portugal has a good is it right? Portugal has a good soccer team. Brazil, let's get the next Brazilian punter. Dude, hey, and if we get punters here, we're going to the national championship, by the way. We got to get a punter.
Yeah, or, great rugby country. That's kind of the reason why Australian punters have been so good.
Yeah.
Is the rugby-style punting.
Yeah.
Yeah. South Africa.
South Africa, are we looking at, these are hot recruiting beds we haven't touched. Is New Zealand?
Yeah.
New Zealand has rugby, right?
Oh yeah,
Don't they have the All Blacks?
Yeah,
yeah. Let's go get a retired All Black on our team.
Retired.
or can we? Don't they rent players? Don't you like?
Yeah, they do. They do loans.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly. I don't know all the details on that, but you can loan a player from one league to a club in another league.
Because they're backwards from us. So when it's winter here, it's summer there.
Yeah, but they do that. They do that across other leagues too. So
I'm just saying you could, they may be out of season.
Right.
When we're in season, they're out of season.
Yeah. Yeah. So just you're. G League players can play in college now. So why not?
Yeah.
Why not let professional rugby players play in college football? Why not?
I think it would be fun. See, what you do is you cross-pollinate sports, and then it generates more interest in both of the sports.
Yeah.
That's what you do.
There you go.
Okay. I want to there's a couple of places I want to go here, and we'll see where we go. Let's go with this one for you. Have Todd Bowles ranting
I do.
After the Bucs loss. By the way, I do picks, and I pick all the NFL games every week. I did not pick the Bucs to lose to Atlanta at home, and they did, which I'm not happy about because I'm doing very well on my picks, by the way, James.
Yeah.
If I was a gambler, I would be rich and I wouldn't be on the radio. I'd go pick NFL games all the time if I was a gambler.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you why not, because as soon as I start putting money on it, I lose every game. All right, here's Todd Bowles discussing his team after their loss to the Bucs.
You don't make excuses. You gotta care enough where the hurts. You gotta care enough where the hurts. It gotta mean something to you. It's more than a job. It's your livelihood. How well do you know your job? How well can you do your job? Well, you can't quote that. It was inexcusable, and there's no answer for it. There's no excuse for it. That's what you tell them in the locker room. Mirror.
Okay, I don't know what he said there because it was all bleeped out.
Especially the last part. I had to actually watch the actual audio without the bleeps. He said look in the bleeping mirror
Gotcha.
at the end there.
Yes.
And yeah, it's a little hard to understand when you have to bleep it all out, but he's mad is the point.
Yeah, that clearly is he is mad
and
right
it's
there.
Kind of the player he's putting the onus on the players, Scott. He's saying, and
yes.
we're so used to coaches saying it's on me, and because we're so used to that, that's what we think should always be said, and I don't totally disagree with that, but I don't know that means that he's completely off base with this. What do you think, Scott, as a former player?
Well, here's why I decided to pick that little tidbit of sound. Is it's an interesting dynamic in sports, right? Because there's always two sides to the coin, and right now we're going through a fascinating time where a lot of high-profile jobs in college football are up for grabs. And why are they up for grabs? Was it the coach's fault or was it the player's fault? Right? Because someone's at fault in these situations. And where the NFL is so challenging is there's money involved. And maybe it's going to be more that way in college football right now. And so it's a hard dynamic because you're a coach and you have to trust these players to do their job. And as a player, you have to trust that your coach is going to put you in a good position to do your job. And it's really hard to get those two things to mesh together because guys get injured. Some guys on a team are not very talented, and that the guy who has a lack of talent maybe pulls the team back. Or maybe you have a really poor offensive line coach and you have a really good offensive coordinator, and so the offensive line is not being taught or instructed or prepared the right. A lot of things have to go into winning and losing. And then on top of it, if you get it all right, the football just bounces funny sometimes. Like, it's just a cruel game sometimes. It's just so cruel, and it's heartbreaking. And it's heartbreaking because, Todd Bowles brings up a point. This isn't just your job. Like, this is a livelihood. This is people's careers, their families are massively impacted by someone's, lack of preparation or timing. Now, from the player side of it, you got all these players with all this money, and these players go out and party all night, all through the week because they're young and they don't care. And it's like, yeah, I'll just show up and play, and they're not quite as prepared as they should be. And so it's a horrible dynamic sometimes. And a lot of it is because this is the challenge. A team doesn't care if they win because they're going to make a grundle of money anyways. So it's a weird business. It's not your success as a team and your financial gain as a team is not based on your win-loss records. It's the fact that you're behind that massive shield that is just all-knowing and all-powerful. And it's like, good luck, Chuck, on that one, where the league in itself is what's popular, not the individual pieces. So you just get to ride along for the ride when you're the Cincinnati Bengals or the New York Jets. It doesn't matter. Now, Todd Bowles says, but my livelihood's I'm the one that it matters to, not the owner, because I get fired. And I get fired if you guys don't show up. And I know Todd Bowles, and I know Todd Bowles prepares his team. But it's just fascinating when a team starts to lose. It goes one of two ways, James. It either goes, we're going to pull together. We're going to get galvanized by this. We're going to – this is unacceptable. Every guy's just got to further commit themselves, and we just can't – we can't lose another game. Like, so whatever it takes to get yourself ready, whatever it takes to get yourself to give that, excellent effort during a game, do it. And that's it. And then it goes the other way, and it's like, oh, so the coaches are blaming us now. Well, it's the coach's fault. Like, and I'll just tell you, there is nothing worse in sports than being in a situation where the players and the coaches are starting a divide. And you see Tampa Bay that just started off so nicely, and everyone's like, Baker Mayfield for MVP. And they've had injuries, and they've had situations come up. that are challenging. I don't know that right after a game is the very best time. I mean, it's the best time for us, right? Because we get
It's great content.
that's why the media goes, we got to get in the locker room after the game. End of discussion. And the team goes, we don't want you in the locker room, like, because we're going to be, we're going to say things we're going to regret later. So we don't care. It's about entertainment. It's about, we need the raw emotion of all this stuff. And I'm sure Todd Bowles today is going, okay, calm down a little bit. Maybe spoke a little harshly, but there is a truthfulness to it. And he, sometimes coaches use the media to kind of get to the players, and it's like, oh wow, we're going to get called out for our BS, and we should. And so the players don't want that. But it's always fascinating to me, and that's what I loved about this story is when a team starts going south, what happens? And in this situation, it's like, okay, the coach is now starting to call out the players, and then the players are going to start calling out the coaches, and it's just going to be it can get it to be a hot mess. And why it's that way, honestly, is it's so competitive. And so when you're losing, you're just so frustrated. And it's so easy to get out of your focus and get caught up in that and get consumed by it. I think it's one of the hardest challenges that professional athletes have is keeping the right mental frame of reference when your team is losing. Like you look at the Mammoth, they've kind of been losing recently, and it's a tougher grind because you can lose a few games in a row in the NHL or Major League Baseball or basketball, and so I'm sure they're constantly having to fight through that. Don't give in to the mental anguish you get from losing a game or two, and just figuring out how to bounce back. But it's fascinating thing, and it was a great example of that happening in sports. All right.
Scott, I'm curious. Do you remember ever being on a team where a coach called you out?
Called me out?
Or not you, maybe not you specifically, but you as the players, like in maybe not in a similar fashion as that, but like where unequivocally he's saying, this one's on you guys, the way Todd Bowles did.
You know what? So, not publicly.
Okay.
But which I think it's worse the way it happened with a coach. So Bobby Ross was a coach in Detroit, and we would have our team meeting, and we'd have a team meeting every day, and he'd do this every day. And I thought it was kind of weak and cheap. And we had this big screen in front of the whole entire team. And he would take a play either from a game or from practice, because every practice is filmed. And he would come in and he would highlight when someone screwed up. And I was like, you like,
didn't like it, huh?
Because everybody's seeing it.
Yeah.
When you normally watch film, the most you'll ever watch is with your offensive group.
This is a small group at a time.
And a lot of times it's not even with the whole offense because it's too hard to get through the film. So the offense, and besides, the offensive linemen like to look at the side angle. So they want to see their butts, right? That's why they do it. But everyone else wants to get the sideline angle. So you got the end zone. That's what the line, same defensive line, offensive line, doesn't matter.
Oh, interesting.
And so
it's just a better look at the line of scrimmage.
Oh, it's the only way for them to look at the line of scrimmage. It's a great, yeah. So every game, every practice is videoed at two different angles, and that's hard enough. like it's hard enough to be in that group and then go and the play's coming up. You've tormented yourself from the moment the game ended till the time you watch film the next day. You're just like, oh man, I can't. I thought that play was the worst play of my entire life. Oh, how am I going to get to? Everybody's going to see this play. Oh, and it's just anguish over it. This is horrible. And then you watch it, and this is the fascinating thing about watching film, and it holds true all the time. This never ever changed. When you won and played really well, and you blew out the team, or you just had a really good game, you go watch the film and you go, "Whew, that wasn't very good." Man, this could have gone south really quick. And then a game where you just go, what happened to us? Like, we got just blown out. And you watch the game film, you're like, we actually played pretty good. Just a few, it's so fascinating. Just a few minor things just really do influence and impact the ultimate outcome of a game. Like, it's not like, it's not like Jalen Hurts throwing an interception at the end of the the game on Monday night. That's not the play. It's 2 or 3 plays during the course of the game that should have gone a different way.
Was it that he had 2 turnovers on the same play?
Well, that was fascinating.
I'm just messing.
But no, it's a good point because you go, oh, you throw an interception, oh, you got it back, get it back, and then it's, oh man, you got rid of. I'm just telling you, you have a day like that. That's a day you just go over to the coach. Say, Coach, man, just take me out of the game now. This isn't going to end well. Let's just quit while we're way behind, and just put someone else. Anyone, I don't even care if you put a quarterback in the game. We are going to be better off.
Tanner can go in. Tanner McKee can go
exactly.
in.
Exactly. Britton Covey could go in.
It is, yeah. Hey, high school quarterback right there. Yeah. It is amazing if you look at it that way that the Eagles were even in a position to win that game at all after a play like that.
Yeah.
Like if you're Jalen Hurts and like I totally believe that you might feel that way right after. You're like, okay, just take me out, coach. It's like, oh, we were driving with a chance to win the game in overtime later that game. That's wild.
What's also fascinating about professional football is pretty much every game, like, you're always in it. Like they're just all so close. And so as poorly as Jalen Hurts played, he still has a chance to win the game at the end of the day. And that's the thing about keeping your head in the game and just really kind of trying to just let those things go past you. And for the most part, I think guys handle it well. The teams that do well, the teams that win, they're probably the ones that handle that better because the level of talent is not that much different from team to team. It's just not. It's why Atlanta goes, Atlanta's hardly won anything. They're not going to go to the playoffs. But they're, especially, you got Kirk Cousins in there going, I got something to prove. I'm not done yet, kind of thing. And so you just can't take anyone lightly. All right, let's take a break right now. Whew, I need a mental refocus after all these fumbles in this first segment. Sammy Mora from Ute Zone, she's a managing editor. She's gonna give us some insight on what's going up on the hill. Sean O'Connell Show is brought to you proudly by Big Willie's Sports Bar in Salt Lake City. From craft food to craft cocktails, they are the sports bar. Check them out today. 1717 South Main Street. This is the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700-921 FM. Alrighty, sports fans, welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792 on FM. Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean yesterday, today. He's in France. Wonder what France is like this time. Well, it's probably cold. Well, is there a warm part of? I mean, there's the south of France, but it's still kind of the northern part of the Mediterranean, so it might be cold. It's probably cold. Anyways, he's doing pro fight league stuff. He's going to come on the show later, and we're going to do some airing of the grievances, and I'm really glad because I have a grievance. I have a good one, too, and it's yeah. So I can't wait for that part of the show. But what I can't wait for now is, and I'm glad that it's happening early on the show, is we have Sammy Mora, Ute Zone managing editor and recruiting insider, joins us right now. Sammy, welcome to the show. How you doing today?
I'm great, Scott. How are you?
Well, I like to say I'm living the dream, and it's not a nightmare, so, I can't complain. All right, big news from the Utes, I guess. Bird Ficklin is staying. Is this a true thing? Is it a done thing? Can we celebrate? And how long will we be able to celebrate if it is true?
I mean, his agent did, confirm the reports that came out of the Salt Lake Tribune yesterday, but it's a big win for Utah. You keep Bird, which is great. I know the last few years it's been a lot of questions surrounding QB2 and quarterback depth that Utah has, and how Utah hasn't had a capable backup. And I think that getting Bird signed, it's a good sign. You have a capable backup. I know that people are like, well, Bird's only played in how many games? He hasn't played a lot of meaningful football right now, but what he has done is he has been a spark for this offense, and that's what you need. But it's also great because that's another year for him to learn under Beck, learn under Devin Dampier, and, possibly be in prime position to take the reins over as a starter in 2027.
Last year, he got to see some meaningful minutes, even when Devin was healthy, and from time to time he got in the game. Do you see that expanding this year, or as you've kind of mentioned and alluded to, well, you're the backup, you just sit on the bench kind of thing?
I don't think so. I think Bird is going to, there's going to be instances next season where, just like this year, where Utah's in blowout situations and you're going to put Bird in and stuff like that. I wouldn't be shocked to see possibly maybe a package or two that they run if they need him, if they need that like spark on offense. So, just because he's QB2 doesn't mean that I don't think we're like not going to see him at all. I think we're going to see him in certain situations, certain instances, and I think that's where we're going to see Bird the most this year, or next year actually. Because
it's still this year.
Yeah, we're technically still in 2025 at this point.
What does that mean for like? What do you think the strategy is for the bowl game then this year? Do you think Bird will get some playing time because these are just fun games? What do you think Utah's strategy is going into the Las Vegas Bowl?
I think this is still Devin's team, so I think that Devin will play. I think Devin will do what Devin's been doing. But again, I won't be shocked to see. It wouldn't shock me if Bird did come in for certain situations, certain packages like we've seen, for a good majority of the season now at this point. So, it's bowl games are funky. I still enjoy a bowl game. I know there's a lot of people who don't like bowl games now, but I still enjoy them. It's good for extra development of younger guys. Those 15 extra practices always tend to help the young guys that could be in starting position the following spring. So, I'm looking forward to Vegas. Allegiant Stadium has been good to the Utes, and I think that, Nebraska's kind of going through it right now, so it could be a nice win to cap off an 11-win season.
All right, private equity has entered the building. Where do you see this having an impact? And really, maybe the transfer portal comes up soon. Is there an impact in the portal and NIL possibilities for Utah now, or what do you understand this private equity partnership being, short term and long term?
I mean, well, it's still kind of fuzzy. We have like an outline of what this could be, but considering it hasn't been finalized yet and it won't be finalized until early next year, there's still a lot that we don't know about what it is. I think that, the big thing is going to be, the added, there's going to be marketing things that are going to change. I think that, it does help recruiting to a certain extent. It helps the NIL and stuff, but, with it being not until next January or February or whenever it gets signed next year, I'm still kind of in that I'm just basing what I'm reporting on what we've heard from, Mark Harlan, from Taylor Randall, Ross Dellinger did his stuff with Yahoo Sports. So until I can get a physical paper in my hand with how everything is lined out, it's kind of like one of those things where I'm just kind of in wait and see mode, how it's going to help or how it could affect this program.
Okay. You have a new signing class, a lot of good names in there, a lot of big stars, maybe a bigger star than there's ever been. What's your take on this signing class, and the impact it can have? I don't know. How do you look at signing classes? Is it who can help you out right now because you don't know who's going to be around in the future? But just what's your reaction to the signing class?
I think there's a good mix of impact guys, but there's also some good developmental talent on in this signing class. Obviously, Kelvin Obot and Celeste Moa are two of the ones that we expect to come in and compete for time early on. Kelvin's first ever composite 5-star that Utah's ever signed. He's an offensive tackle. They're going to lose both of their offensive tackles this year at Utah, so he has a chance to come in and start. Celeste Moa, obviously Utah flipped him from Tennessee on signing day. Big win for this staff, getting a legacy kid to, come back to Utah and play for Utah and stuff. He's probably going to compete early for on the wide receiver room, but he's also has the possibility of playing both sides. So we might see him at some safety. We might see him at nickel. We might see him, somewhere in that secondary, as his career goes on. And I think there's two more that I think could see the time early in their career, and that's LaMarcus Bell, the running back from Oregon, and even Bear Fisher, Utah's tight end commit that signed from Arizona. Bell was the Oregon Player of the Year. He's a really talented, high-level back. Utah held off Oregon to get his commitment or to hold on to his signing and stuff. And Bear is one of those guys that is, under-recruited. He's the lowest-rated kid in this signing class for Utah, but 6'5", 235, really good tight end. He has the potential to be another great inline tight end for Utah because I know that, cut from this, I think he has skills that are very comparable to, Dallin Bentley and other inline tight ends that Utah has had. So I think those four are probably going to be your instant impact guys. But the rest of the guys, there's some developmental guys. There's some guys that are going to need some time to, get up to weight, get some technique improvements, get some fundamental work in. But overall, I think this class is really good. I'm excited. I think that this is a great, launch point. I know there was a lot of concern last year with the whole, losing season, recruiting wasn't going well. And I told our subscribers over at Utah before the season began that, winning cures everything. And, it's starting to cure things. There's a lot of more optimism around this recruiting class. There's a lot of positive buzz about what Utah can do in the portal this year. So I think that from top to bottom, I like where Utah's at in terms of recruiting.
Speaking of the portal, and you say there's what can Utah do in the portal?
I think the biggest thing is you need to go and get possibly another starting level offensive tackle to go on the opposite of Obot. I think you're obviously going to need to add some wide receivers because there's always going to be some overturn in that position. I wouldn't be shocked to see Utah go after some edge rushers because, John Henry Daly is out for the his injury was so late in the season. We don't know if he'll be available for next year. Logan Fano's future is up in the air, type of those things. So I wouldn't be shocked to see those three positions are probably going to be the biggest ones that I'm going to be watching for Utah this season.
The players that are with the team, of course, Isaac Wilson, I think he has mentioned that he is going to enter the portal. Are there players that are maybe vulnerable to losing that we just can't afford to lose? And who might they be?
Honestly, I think that in today's world of the portal and stuff, you're always going to have to work on roster retention and stuff. And the thing is everyone who's entered the portal up until this point has been guys that, you know, not like I don't want to be I'm not trying to be rude, but like don't move the needle and don't move the needle in terms of success for next season or not.
Right.
And I think that Utah does a really good job at retaining the guys they need to retain. Like, yeah, you're always going to lose maybe one or two. You know, last year it was Keanu Tanavasa and Cam Calhoun. But if you look on the flip side, Utah actually netted a positive in the portal last year compared to what left versus what came in. If you go and look player by player that left Utah versus player by player that joined Utah, it's very, very, very clear that it was a net positive for Utah in the portal. And, you know, there's always going to be those kids that everyone hears, like they're like, well, Smith's going to transfer, this person's going to transfer, that person's going to transfer. And like until my big thing is until they actually enter the portal, I don't really, you know, I'm not going to buy into it, because until there's I see a name in the portal, then I'm going to say, okay, well, they're possibly leaving type of thing. Because with NIL and stuff now and, you know, rev share and all those things, it's always a constantly changing and constantly evolving thing.
The defense had a challenge at the end of the year, and you saw things that you typically don't see from a Utah defense, namely people running the football. What's your take on maybe the fall off on the quality of play on the Utah defense at the end of the season?
I think the big thing was that tackle rotation got really thin. They got banged up pretty bad. You know, Dallas got hurt early in the season versus UCLA. Aliki's been banged up all season. Carson Kafusi's been banged up. Pupu Sepulveda's been banged up. So I think it's just been a snowball effect of guys just not being healthy. And I think we're at that point in the season where there's not a single team across this country that is not hurt in some sort of way, shape, or form. There's always going to be someone who's down for a certain team that could change, you know, the impact of how a season goes. But, you know, we knew heading into the season that defensive tackle was kind of a question mark, but the same like line, like Jonah Lea'ea has played really well. You know, you hope this offseason they can put a little bit more weight on him so that he's not getting pushed around as much. Same with Pupu. He wasn't here for spring ball, so he's going to have an actual full off season this season. Carson was hurt his senior year of high school, so he didn't play. So he was still rehabbing and still getting up to speed when spring ball came around. So, you know, there's a lot to remain optimistic about with the defensive line. I think that, you know, it's youth. I think that's what the big thing that you can say about all of this is it's youth. It's young, it's inexperienced, and, you know, like injuries, like that's the thing. If Utah does go into the portal, I don't think they're not going to for defensive tackle, they're not going to break the bank trying to get a defensive tackle. That's the thing that I just want to urge fans is that if Utah goes out and gets a defensive tackle, it's not going to be somebody that's going to break the bank. They're going to get somebody who can come in, who fits it within their parameters in terms of how much NIL they're going to be able to spend and who's going to have an impact on this team. There's more pressing issues on this team right now than getting a however expensive level defensive tackle.
Beth Lanier retired after 36 years. Alyssa DeRico has taken over. What's your thoughts on that?
Beth, it's funny because Beth is one of those coaches that, you know, I have always known at Utah. She was coaching there for Utah longer than I have been alive at this point. And so, you know, Utah volleyball in my mind is always going to be Beth. But I'm excited for Alyssa, you know, 4-time national champion at Penn State, very, very, very detail-oriented, very competitive. And I think that, you know, Beth did everything she could to put Utah in a position to succeed and to thrive, and she did that. She took a team that had only won one match a season and made them a national postseason contender and stuff. But I think Alyssa has what it takes to kind of, you know, push this team to the next level. You know, she's been there, done that. She knows what to expect from high level of play and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it, you know, but that was congratulations to Beth on just like a great career and stuff, but also very excited for the future with Alyssa.
All right. I have a burning question for you, and all the fans out there want to know. Are you in favor of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers creamsicle jerseys or not?
as a lifelong Buccaneers fan, I am a diehard fan of the creamsicle. It is one of
Oh!
my favorite. It is one of my favorite uniforms in all of the NFL. I was telling my dad last night actually that I wish they would go back to the creamsicle permanently, but I also have a very special place in my heart for that pewter and red. So I'm a big swashbuckler fan. I love it. I'm creamsicle forever.
So did you pick your fandom because of a maybe certain jersey color or type, or how have you become a lifelong Bucks fan?
So it's actually a really funny story. So when I was little, so this was the year. So this was Tony Dunn. This was Gruden's first year as the coach of the Buccaneers. My
John
dad
Gruden.
was watching a game. My dad was watching a game, and I asked him who it was, and he said it was the Bucks. And I was like, "Oh, I think they're going to win everything this year." My dad kind of laughed in my face and was like, "Ha ha, yeah, right. They're not going to do that." And then they ended up, winning it all, and I've been saddled with this for my life. There's been some good moments, but there's also been some bad moments. I know a lot of people always ask me, like, "Oh, you're probably just a bandwagon fan when Brady joined," and I said, "No, I have pictures of me in a Cadillac Williams jersey as a young child, and a picture of me in a Mike Allstott jersey." So it's it's been a blessing, but it's also been a curse. So
When were you born? What year?
I was born in 1999.
Man, if you could have been born just a couple of years later and watched a Detroit Lions game and kind of had that same premonition, I would have really appreciated that. That would have been nice for me. Thanks a lot, Sammy.
I'm a big Bucks fan, so last night was not fun for me.
I'm sorry to hear that. Well, I'm glad you like the
Okay.
creamsicle. And thank you so much for joining the show today. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Scott.
All right, there you have it. Sammy Mora. It's good stuff. It'd be interesting to see what happens with the portal. And, we talked about it a little bit earlier. So how do you strategize? How do you economize? How do you actually win in the portal with not a lot of money? That is the question of the day. More to come here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Let's see. The Sean O'Connell Show is now – no, we said that already. Never mind. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. I think bowl games are dying. Don't tell anyone. We'll talk about that and so much more when the Sean O'Connell Show returns here on ESPN 792.1 FM. All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It is the holiday season. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all of you out there. My least favorite Christmas song of all is what James just played. So thank you very much, James. I don't know. I just can't get into that song.
I just stumbled upon your least favorite Christmas song.
Stumble is a very appropriate word. Yes, stumbled, bumbled, and fumbled.
And by the way, you and everyone else listening just got whammed. So you're welcome.
Yeah, that's just not what I wanted. I was having a good show until right then. Now I'm going to pick it up again. We're going to have a great show. Hey, speaking of great things to do, ESPN 792.1 FM and the Rocky Mountain Chevy dealers invite you to help those at the road home this holiday season with needed blankets, coats, shoes, hats, and gloves. Drop off donations at any Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer. Visit ESPN700sports.com for dealer locations. Spread the warmth and help others find their way home. Speaking of finding your way home, it looks like bowl games, we're going to have a casualty. The LA Bowl is apparently basically dropping itself. It's ending after this year's LA Bowl. Now, the LA Bowl is kind of a new bowl. I think wasn't Jimmy Kimmel involved with the LA Bowl at some point?
It was the Jimmy Kimmel LA Bowl. I'm not sure if he's still involved. I know Gronk recently kind of took it over, and he is this year. He's still kind of the MC and
the guy,
the big. His name's on the bowl.
Okay,
but yeah, did not know it was going under till you brought this up, Scott.
Yes, it is. Yeah, so they are disbanding the bowl game, which leads to a question. Is this a sign of things to come? Are they going to expand college football and expand the use of bowl games like maybe the Las Vegas Bowl, the Holiday Bowl, the Alamo Bowl, the Liberty Bowl, maybe the Pop-Tarts Bowl? Maybe they become early round playoff games. If you ask I was actually in a conversation with someone last night about this very topic, and they are like, man, the bowl games have just meant everything. And I think that the college football playoffs have ruined bowl games. I don't think that's true. I don't think that the college football playoffs have ruined bowl games. I think the bowl games and guys going to the NFL, and they just don't seem to mean the same as me. Am I wrong here, James?
Yeah, I don't think so. And I actually think that further expansion of the playoff will save the bowl games.
I would think that 100%. Look, that's when something means something. Clearly, before the playoff was expanded or anything was going on, people were exiting bowl games. They were like, "Yeah, I'm out. I'm not playing. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to risk my shot. It's just not worth it," kind of thing. And I think they've become very meaningless. I think the New Year's Day games have always held a certain prestige, but I think even those were kind of waning to some degree. I mean, is anyone really excited about going to the Cotton Bowl or the Peach Bowl or, I don't know.
I think that those ones and the Orange Bowl probably being the most prestigious of that small group of New Year's Six bowls, were the ones it's like, eh. And then Rose Bowl and Sugar Bowl still held a lot of juice, especially the Rose Bowl, right?
Yep. No question. I mean, the Rose Bowl, I think everyone wants to go play in no matter what. And I love the playoffs. I do. I love it that it was expanded. I love that these bowl games are much more meaningful. And I think there's certainly an ability to involve other bowl games.
Yeah, Fiesta Bowl, is the other one that's kind of like, it's New Year's Six, but is it really as big a deal as the Rose and the Sugar Bowl? No.
Yeah, so there is a contraction. There is a bowl game folding, and maybe there's more, maybe there's less. I don't know. Who knows? I honestly, you said the first bowl game was tomorrow. I couldn't tell you what it was. I couldn't tell you what most of the bowl games are. I mean, I've heard of things like I guess there's the Bahama Bowl, the Hawaii Bowl. I mean, the only reason I know those is because they're in warm locations. It's where I'd want to go. For a bowl game, but there's the Gasparilla Bowl. There's the Pinstripe Bowl, of course. That's the New York Yankee Bowl, which I think is weird. Regardless,
you have the the one at Fenway Park too, and I'm a Red Sox fan, Scott. I don't know what that one's called. Is it the Fenway Bowl? I don't even know.
I think it might be. Exactly. Who knows? Who cares? I think there's the Motor City Bowl, or that's in Detroit, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of know the bowl games, but do you really care who plays in them or when they're played, or do you even watch them? Maybe you kind of glance by them. Make it interesting. That's what I say. There's
2 tomorrow kicking off bowl season. The Cricket Celebration Bowl, which is the HBCU FCS. Two HBCUs in the FCS level facing off: South Carolina State, Prairie View A&M. At Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, so that's a big venue, at least for that one. And then we talked about the LA Bowl. That one's tomorrow night. We're going to have that on I believe our other station, 103.9, 98.3 ESPN The Fan. So nice. If you don't care to watch it, maybe turn on the radio as you're driving around.
Yes.
That's Boise State, Washington. 2 good teams.
Right.
So that may be a good game, but you're right, like, there's no stakes to it, so why should we care all that much?
I wonder if location, because Los Angeles, although it's a very, very large metropolitan area, you really have to move the needle to get people to have an interest in doing anything. Just like the Rams and the Chargers and the Lakers, and you've got USC and people
in the summer, the Dodgers, and early fall, you got the Dodgers. Yeah.
I mean, my point is it's kind of hard to get people to go to those things, let alone a bowl game with the Gronk. That's a tough challenge. Hey, we're not going to worry about it anymore. We're going to support our bowl games and our teams. It's time for a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about dry needle therapy. Yeah, you'll want to hear this. This is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell. More to come here on 103 ESPN 700. I don't know where I'm like brain dead right now. ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. All righty, sports fans. Welcome back. It is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell filling in for Sean yesterday and today. So I'm the middle reliever and the closer. It's Friday. We should have fun. We are having fun. I'm having fun. I hope you're having fun. Thank you for tuning into the show. Of course, if you miss any of the show, don't regret it. Just use technology. It's your friend, and it's free. Go to that.com. Go to that app. Go to YouTube, and you can catch us. ESPN700sports.com, ESPN 700 Sports app, and let's see, at ESPN 700 Sports Utah on YouTube. So don't miss a beat. Don't miss any of it. You know, the funny thing is, I have a question for you, James. So I'm watching, because I have a TV on in the studio. It's on ESPN, by the way. I don't know which of the many millions of stations that it's actually on right now, but it's on one of them. And what is being played is college volleyball. And I believe they're in the tournament, right? The tournament for the national championship or whatever that is. I'm a huge fan of volleyball. My daughter played volleyball. I actually enjoyed watching. I wasn't a fan of lacrosse until my youngest son started playing lacrosse, and he was so obsessed with it that he would play in the winter in the house in the garage, and he had this net, and you know, lacrosse balls are not. There's a density to them.
And we talked about this.
You are my density.
You are my. We talked about this a few weeks ago. The last time you filled in, I think when. What would you rather get hit by? And I think we both said we would. The least one we'd want to get hit by a ball is a lacrosse ball.
Yeah, and maybe a golf ball. But my question to you, James, is okay for me. Like my number one sport, like hands down, and most people in this country, is football. Like football is life, but it's also king, queen, prince, and the Joker. What is your favorite? Well, what is your favorite sport?
Basketball.
Oh,
by a lot.
By a mile.
Yeah.
Now, why is basketball so? Why are you so passionate about basketball?
Well, a couple reasons. One is I grew up playing it. It's the only sport I played. And then
growing up, could you slam dunk?
No.
That's what everyone wants to know.
I
Can you slam dunk?
I could. So as Gordy Chiesa likes to say, he had many players who couldn't jump over a phone book. That was me.
That was you.
I wasn't one of his players, but I was like a lot of his players.
So you knew your role on the team.
Sure.
What was your role on the team?
I did not play very much, Scott. I was bench warmer.
You played left out.
I was cheer for the team on the bench and played for the last 2 minutes of the game.
So you played left out.
Yeah.
That's what you played. Yeah.
So yeah, I do not have a very notable athletic career, but that's one reason I grew up playing basketball. And then also I wasn't really a fan of other sports till I was like 10 because the only thing my family would watch was the Jazz.
Oh.
So that's one of the reasons why I never got into Utah or BYU football. I probably didn't know other sports existed till I discovered ESPN around 10 years old, and I'm like, hey, college football's cool, NFL's cool, baseball's cool.
You know, you don't have to jump to play football.
That's a good point.
Yeah. In fact, they prefer you to keep your feet on the ground.
And listen,
and to stay on your feet, by the way.
I had a couple of uncles, great high school football players. One that was didn't end up playing college, but was recruited at a bunch of different places, had blew out his knee, so he wasn't able to actually play. So they and others are like, you would probably be a better football player. And I'm like, I don't care.
See, I could see you playing football, James. I really could.
I don't have the look of a basketball player. I definitely have the look of a lineman, a football player.
You have a look right now that you should have a flannel shirt on and be a lumberjack. Got that look going. A quick story about my son when he started playing basketball in high school. So he's a sophomore in high school, and he's having his first game of the season. And he's tall like I am. He's 6'5".
See, if I was your height, I might not have been bench warmer guy. I might have been a little bit more.
Well, you know, it's possible. So I made a bet with him, thinking in my mind, I'll never lose this bet. And I said, every time you slam dunk a ball in, because he could dunk a ball. Every time you dunk the basketball, I'll give you $100. And I'm thinking he won't even have an opportunity. So he's playing sophomore basketball. First game, he's at the the Dixie Center. They're at some Christmas tournament down there
in St. George.
Yeah, down in St. George. And I'm sitting in the stands, and 3 minutes into the game, they get a fast break. He's out on the left wing, comes down the court, and dunks the basketball, and then points at me in the stand, and is like, "You owe me, you owe me." And there was a really, really big part of me that was like, man, I am so glad to pay this out, because that was cool. That was a cool moment. And I did it thinking he'd never do it, and then he did it in the first 2 minutes, and then I was super proud that, and I paid up on my bet, gave my son $100.
Did you end up getting broke
More?
because he
No.
kept dunking?
Unfortunately, he got a back injury.
Ah.
It wasn't from ducking a basketball, and he never played basketball actually again
Oh
in
man!
high school. So it was.
At least
He had a weird
that
thing
moment,
going on
right?
with his back, and he'd injured it, and it was kind of a tough thing for him. So
Was this Springville? Did
yeah,
he play
and
at Springville too?
Springville Mighty Red Devils.
Because I vaguely, and I don't remember you necessarily being there, but we did have, depending on how long ago it was, Dixie High would host like a holiday tournament,
Yeah.
and Springville was part of it a
Yeah.
couple of years, so it might have been.
Yeah. And when
There
I
at
coached,
Dixie High.
we played Dixie every year. So
Let's go Flyers.
I have fond memories of screaming and yelling at my team in the locker room down in St. George in 105-degree weather. It's fun. Speaking of fun, so T.J. Watt, you heard he had this emergency surgery yesterday,
Yeah,
and he had a collapsed lung, which is a bad thing. Like that's really bad.
that's scary.
Now, what's even scarier is how he got the collapsed lung, and he was having some kind of dry needle. I didn't know that there was a wet needle, or I don't know, a dull needle, a sharp needle, a dry needle. I don't know what that means.
Is that off of a pine tree?
I have no idea, but it's some kind of treatment to cure limited mobility from, I guess you poke it could be acupuncture-ish type of stuff. I don't know. And there are folks that swear by acupuncture and say it's like, a thing. I do know this, and this is why I want to talk about it. Athletes in general, really, I think in every sport, are willing to go to such great lengths so that they can perform at a very high level and at a consistent level every single week. And so you hear situations like this, and I experienced it. I went through this. I had a needle. I don't know if it was wet or dry, but it was a needle that I was taking every day so that I could practice. I had an injury on my ribs, and it was a torn muscle off my ribs, and so they were trying to deaden the area. Brutally painful to just breathe.
I can imagine.
And I would go 5:30 in the morning, every morning. I'd drive, I don't know, it'd take me about an hour to get there. And they would stick a 4-inch needle in my stomach. And the shot lasted 12 minutes. It was horrible every day.
Ugh.
So I could just practice. This was when I was playing with the Detroit Lions in 1996. And the first time I was sitting up, so you go into a doctor's examination room. They have a little table there, and it's got the paper on it. And so I'm sitting on the edge of that with my feet hanging down. And the doctor's like, okay, lift up your shirt. So I lift up my shirt, and there's my stomach exposed. And he's talking to me, and I can see everything. And I see this needle, and it's 4 inches long. And then all of a sudden he inserts it into my stomach. And I'm probably 4 or 5 minutes into the shot. And he's just talking to me, and it wasn't like brutally painful. I mean, it was, because he's trying to deaden the area. But you'd get, zingers and things like that. And I had this thought in my brain. I have a 4-inch needle in my stomach. And the next thing I know, I'd passed out.
Oh no.
And so I just boom.
So you thought you did the mistake of thinking about what
like,
was going on,
what was
and
actually happening
Your
here.
brain said, "I'm checking out here. See you later."
Said this is not normal. Like this is not a normal thing to do. And so I passed out, and I the next thing I know, there's all these nurses around me, and you know how you kind of come to, and there's all these faces and hands everywhere, and they're just like, "Are you okay? Here's some crackers, and here's some orange juice, and here's some, just like." And so I come to, right, no needle anymore, and the doctor said, "Okay, it looks good." I said, "Okay, so can I leave?" He goes, "No, we still have 6 minutes to go."
Oh no!
So I go, "I think I'm gonna lay down for this, and then if I pass out, you just keep going without me." Yeah, and so he did. I didn't pass out.
So he said you could do that. You didn't necessarily have to be awake for it.
No. Well, I don't know if I was kind of joking with that.
Oh, okay.
But and so then on for there in eternity, I actually just laid down when I came to get the shot. It's like, well, let's just not even, chance standing up or sitting because
so you couldn't see it.
Yeah, and I didn't pass out, and I just didn't look. I was just like, okay, I don't want to know. Kind of thing.
Probably the best way to go.
Now, what I found out is it wasn't highly effective.
Oh.
But there was something that was highly, highly effective that I began doing, and that was I took a Toradol shot. And I had never in my life took any kind of pain medication, anything ever in my career. And all of a sudden, I'm taking this shot, and so there was a line of maybe 20 guys in the training room right before the kickoff of every game, and I had no idea how many players took these shots. There is half the team just lined up, And the reason you did it right before you went out on the field is because you were you had the longest period of time where it would wear off the least. If you took it, half an hour or whenever before the game, it's like no one wanted to waste it. So it's like literally, it's like, okay, take a shot, grab your helmet, and you're out of the locker room. It's just like,
this was, I'd imagine it might be, apparently it's not that difficult to get the shot to the areas they needed to get it to with the uniform on.
Well, it was a general, like, you just got a shot in your rear end.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
You just, yeah.
All right.
Which was the easiest place to get a shot. Maybe I guess you could
I
get
would
it
imagine
with everything on. Yeah.
You're
just
fully dressed, ready to go.
See, in the
game,
NFL, no one wore hip pads or tailbone pads. That wasn't.
Yeah.
That wasn't a thing. That just slowed you down.
The visual you've given me, Scott, incredible.
Yeah. And I was shocked by this, right?
Yeah.
So then I see a player, and I marvel at these players. I mean, just seeing this with T.J. Watt, I just marvel at all these players and what they have gone through. And I think the one that probably stuck out the most in my brain was Chris Spielman. So Chris Spielman, Ohio State, a great linebacker, Ohio State, a very good linebacker in the NFL, was on a Wheaties box, I believe. Might have been when he was in high school.
Yeah.
So he was from Massillon, which is a huge, big, popular school in Ohio, and
very famous early days of pro football.
Yes.
Town.
Yeah. So he's on he's on a Wheaties box.
I think the only current high school player to ever be on a
Wheaties box. And Chris, was an unbelievably intense individual. Like he used to wrestle in high school, and if he lost a wrestling match, his dad made him run home. Like he didn't get a ride home. He's just a different dude.
And no doubt he lived a couple miles away, so that was probably
it was never close.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to find out how many times you actually lost wrestling in high school.
I was gonna say I didn't even think about. He probably meant it on like away games too, huh?
Yeah. Oh, all the time, yeah.
Away matches, like you got to run 20 miles, son.
I'll just say, Chris was he was a unique individual.
Man, turned into a really good broadcaster too. For a while. I'm not sure, is he broadcasting anymore?
I think actually he works for the Detroit Lions. He works with them.
I remember him being on a lot of college football games, watching him growing up, but he's probably only on Detroit Lions.
So when I have this experience where I have this muscle tear in my rib cage.
Yeah.
And so I go into the training room, and Chris comes in, and this is before a game. So I'm getting all this stuff done to get ready to play, and Chris comes in, and I don't know what it is with doctors and 4-inch needles, but they pull out this needle, and I almost want to say it was like a McDonald's straw you put in your Coca-Cola. Right? The thickness of this needle was just insane. And Chris had torn his pectoral muscle off of the bone. And it was literally rolled up like a little, cinnamon bun, basically. And it was just this big old clump of, in the middle of his chest.
Scott, I'm getting queasy.
and he would practice all week. And it would build up with fluid. And so right before the game, again, they would come in with this McDonald's straw, stick it in his upper chest, and remove the fluid. And so I'm in here. I can't not see it because I'm there.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where I had no idea that this kind of effort went into guys just making it on the field. And this was not. Oh, it wasn't abnormal. It was very much routine. And it's marvel. I marvel at the willingness of players and what they put themselves through. And so I don't know what dry needle therapy is, but if there's any risk of it collapsing your lung, that certainly doesn't sound like a very, very good thing. And it's just a reminder to me of all of these people. And I interviewed Ronnie Lott one time, and he of course cut his finger off.
Yeah.
And it's this famous, thing where they go, well, if you have surgery on it, you're going to miss, 2/3 of the season. And he goes, well, what if we just cut it off? And he goes, well, then you can play, you can play when the season comes up. So he goes, well, just cut my finger off. So at the first joint of his pinky finger, it was cut off. And so, they talk about the toughness of Ronnie Lott and how, and I when I interviewed him, I expected this. Yeah. I spit blood and I cut my fingers off. I do all these things to play. And he goes, it's a reminder to me every single day of how much of my soul, my body and everything I had to put into, playing at an extremely high level. And there was a tremendous sacrifice. And he goes, now it's just a small portion of my body, right? It's just the tip of my pinky. It's not like, I function like totally normal, but he goes, it's like this thing that I'll never not forget, that I went through this tremendous sacrifice and effort to play this game. And I would do it again. But I look at it with great reverence and great, esteem. And I just have so much respect for all of the people who have gone out and played this game. And I echo that sentiment. I get out of bed every day and I'm sore, and so it is exacted its toll for sure. And it's a tough thing. Now, people are like, why do you do it? And I'm like, why not do it? I mean, boy, there are just not very many things that you can just, express yourself and go out and just do something truly amazing and remarkable. And it is. And I just am so grateful for the opportunity. I had to do something extremely unique in my life, regardless of how much of a sacrifice it was. And I truly would do it over again. Like I would beg to be able to do it. I look at Phillip Rivers coming back, and there's part of me that laughs, but there's part of me that just goes, I get it. I get that you at all costs, just, it's like, fine, I'll come back. I'll come back and be on the practice squad. I'll come back if I could throw one more pass or play one more game. If I don't think
put on the uniform one more time.
Heck yeah. Absolutely. And yeah, fine. I'm overweight. Whatever. I don't care. Phillip Rivers.
Hey, the team wants me. I don't care if I'm out of shape.
When I watched his face, and you could just see there was so much excitement and joy and happiness just to be there, And I've had a dream about this, and I've shared the dream probably on the show but that's how I felt in the dream. I was just so happy to be back there. And I was so happy to see all the people, even the ones I didn't really know. It's just like, man, I'm sorry. Give me a hug. It's just good to see you. So kind of a cool thing. And, some people might say, oh, you guys are nuts. Why would you ever put yourself through that? And I go, until you've lived through it, until you've experienced it, until you realize how amazing it is, you don't judge it. Don't judge it anyway. So
yeah,
there you have it.
It is crazy to hear stories like that, Scott, about just all the stuff that football players play through, and all the stuff, as you mentioned. You marvel at what you have to do because you're playing hurt all the time, just to be able to have some kind of comfort to be able to go out there and play before each and every game, leading up to each and every game. The first season of Quarterback on Netflix, they had the episode about pain.
Yeah.
I think it was just called Pain.
Right.
And I think that was a really good look for people like me who not played football at any level, just to see, whoa, when they say no one's 100%, that's what they're talking about.
Right.
And then your story now is like another layer to that of like that. Yeah, that's what they mean by no one's 100%. The clip when it showed Kirk Cousins getting leveled, I think, against Washington in that season. He was with the Vikings still. Yeah. And he's laying on the ground, and his O-lineman just automatically like, here's my hand, let me help you up. And he's like, hold on a second. I'm still reeling down here. Like that, just toughness just doesn't even begin to express what that is, I think.
You always evaluated whether you're going to be able to play based on just what your pain level was by like Wednesday. And really Thursday morning. It's like, okay, if you're kind of moving okay by Thursday, it's, I think I can do that.
Isn't that wild that
it's
guys are playing on that day now?
Right, I know.
After playing on Sunday.
And having played, every Thanksgiving game with the Detroit Lions, the games were different. Like the speed, the physicality of the games, it was not there. It was probably one of the most striking experiences, because there's a certain sound and there's a certain tempo and there's a certain thud to practice in the NFL. It's very fast and it's very so it's just loud, and it's just really, really quite a violent collision that happens, and just the pace that everyone's going at. And you go into those Thursday, and especially at the beginning of an NFL game, that first, everyone's at the highest physical level of health that they could possibly be on the first play of every NFL game, and it just goes downhill from there. Even from the first half to the second half, there's a lull in the speed and the tempo of the game. But those Thursday games, they were like just a Wednesday practice, maybe. Just the tempo it was very different.
And when you played, like you said, it was really only Thanksgiving they had this Thursday game. Maybe they had it on opening week like they do now. It's every week in the NFL now. You're asking guys to play like that.
And if you can pace yourself, so you just got to push through this, and it's pushing through the game. It's pushing through actually 2 weeks earlier. If you really treat it right and strategize correctly with it, it can be a massive exchange for you. So you play a game on Sunday, which is the Sunday before the Thursday game, and then a week later you play another game. So in 1 week you've played 2 games, and then you go and play on Thursday, which is like 10 days. So in 10 days you played 3 games, and then you get this 10-day break. And so that's why you just go, okay, it's like we always talked about, we got to win this trifecta of games. So you're really focused on a week before the Thursday game. And so you'd play these 3 games in 10 days, and you'd go, if you all of a sudden in 10 days have 3 wins added to your total, like you jumped up the standings. It's like, where did this team come from? And so it was and then you get a break, and it's always, Thanksgiving was always late in the year. So it's this really huge advantage, much bigger than because everyone didn't want to do it. And when all of a sudden they realized this is a huge advantage, then it was, we need to take it away from the Lions. And so it became a big deal. All right, I'll tell you what's the big deal is we're going to take a break. But when we come back, we have our daily dump. Oh, we got some good stuff to dump on you. You don't want to miss it. The Sean O'Connell returns here on ESPN 791 FM. All righty, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 791 FM. Hey, I'm Scott Mitchell. I am not Sean O'Connell, but I did play him in a movie once We have we have a similar look to ourselves. He's just a shorter version of me, and I'm a taller and maybe a little bit wider version of him.
He's good at MMA. You're good at pretending to be good at MMA.
Exactly.
So that's why they cast you, right?
Exactly. What was that show? Chad Powers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about the Manning brothers. Like here's what's funny about that. They're doing everything, right? They got Peyton's places and Eli's whatever.
Well, and Peyton's always been doing everything.
Yeah.
It's Eli. It's like a new development to have Eli be
like,
everywhere.
come on,
too.
little brother, let me show you how to do all this stuff.
And he's taken to it really well.
Yeah, and it's funny because they're dorky. Okay, they're just dorky.
Absolutely,
they're a little bit stiff, but that's what's so great about it. It's like
it's authentic though. Right?
They own it.
Yeah.
Yes, they own it, and so it kind of it becomes very endearing, and it's they don't come across as polished or whatever. I think Peyton tries to be just a little bit more refined.
I think he is. He's done. Yeah. He spent a lot. Like I mentioned, he's spent a lot more time on TV other than playing football than Eli did. So I think he is a little bit more refined, but he's still not perfect, right?
Yeah, just the whole Danny DeVito. He can kind of get away with it.
Yeah,
it's a fascinating thing.
You ever meet Peyton or Eli?
I actually played against Peyton. I want to say it was his rookie year in a preseason game.
Okay.
When he was with the Colts. Actually, no, it was a couple of preseason games.
Eli.
It was when he was with the Colts, and then I was with the Detroit Lions and the Cincinnati Bengals. Actually played.
Gotcha. Yeah, Eli. He came in right after you retired.
Eli,
right?
he's
a couple years after.
Eli's he's a young pup.
Yeah.
When you're old is when guys come in the league and they have these really long careers, and now their careers are over. You're like, wow, you spanned this whole generation of time that I didn't even play in the NFL. And
what I was thinking about? So Shaq was on the Dan Patrick Show, which you can hear 7 to 10 right before the Down and Dirty every day here on ESPN 791 FM. And he was talking about LeBron. And he didn't talk about, hey, this is how he was when I played with him in Cleveland. But because I remember him that year that they spent in Cleveland, as he was talking about LeBron, I'm like, Shaq was teammates with LeBron. And that was the year before he retired 14 years ago, and LeBron is still playing.
Yeah.
And that was not LeBron's rookie year. Anyway, just that talk. It's a similar thing, except that LeBron hasn't retired yet.
So there's kind of a cool connection to, like, I've thought this before, even when I was playing. When I first started playing with the Miami Dolphins, in fact, the first game that I played against the Cleveland Browns, and I was like, well, there's Clay Matthews. And Clay Matthews played for the Cleveland Browns when they played the Pittsburgh Steelers, when the Pittsburgh Steelers had Terry Bradshaw and Franco Harris, and so you start connecting yourself way back in generations of time, even through the history of the Miami Dolphins. It's fascinating because Coach Shula was with the Colts.
Yeah,
and he was coaching the Colts when they famously lost to the New York Jets in the so Don Shula was the coach of the losing team. And it's fascinating so you go, here's Coach Shula tied to Johnny Unitas, and then in comes he has so that Raymond Barry, and that was probably the genesis of what the Miami Dolphins offense was. So then they have Paul Warfield, who comes in, who had been in Cleveland, and he was with I think he was with Otto Graham in the 60s, and so it goes a long way back. And so then there's Paul Warfield, and then you bring in Nat Moore, and you bring in some of these players, and Nat Moore, goes to Mark Duper and Mark Clayton. And so here I play with Mark Duper and Mark Clayton, and it's just a fun tie all the way back to all these great players and this great part of the history and the connection to the NFL. And and it really feels, like you're, part of something really special, especially when you play a player who has so much status and has been around for so long. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing. Like Jackie Slater. Jackie Slater, I think Jackie Slater was playing in 1978 when the Los Angeles Rams played the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he goes back that far. So I go back, because I go back to guys that were playing in the 70s at the beginning of my career. They're late in their career, but
you played with
still,
those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, fascinating thing. Okay, let's get into some of our dump here. This is an interesting one. And it's interesting because I think it has a local importance. And this is Rocco Becht. And he's had successful surgery on his throwing shoulder. And he's still mulling his future. This is according to Pete Thamel. His coach, of course, Matt Campbell's now at Penn State. But this is why I think this is interesting. Because Rocco Becht was considered one of the top quarterbacks in the country. Iowa State was playing very well. And you don't hear about maybe these shoulder injuries. And because he kind of went south.
Yeah.
And I get that because we were having a conversation about someone sticking a needle in my chest for 12 minutes, and
4 inches long,
4 inches long, 12 minutes,
yeah,
just to practice.
Oh man!
And so I get the being thrown off by an injury and your timing and your ability to throw football. And so Rocco Becht, now maybe his coach Matt Campbell knows, like, this dude can play. And if so he may end up
Just
going
needs to be healthy,
yeah. Right? So he may fly under the radar with NIL stuff. Like, he may not be able to demand the same kind of dollar amount. Now, if he doesn't go to Penn State, that could be a bargain buy in the transfer portal.
I mean, think about ASU, who is probably not going to have Sam Levitt.
Right.
Imagine Kenny Dillingham, if he stays at ASU. There's been some rumors that he might be a candidate for Michigan.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll get to the latest with Sharon Moore.
Yes.
But if he stays at ASU, can you imagine Kenny Dillingham being like, "Wait, I can have Rocco Becht"? Like,
exactly.
He'd probably be really excited about that.
Or Sam Levitt is also an injured guy, and maybe he's not going to get the top. But it feels to me like Sam Levitt. Like, he knew or he knows where he's headed.
Yeah, I think he seemed to have kind of walked out on his team, Scott. He did not attend he wasn't at much of the games after he got hurt, and he skipped the football banquet. So I think he's gone.
Yeah, and you wonder what precipitated that. Like,
yeah,
is there a bad culture in Tempe? Or is there or is he just go, hey, look, why create any kind of an attachment with these guys, or I don't want to get close to them because I know I'm going somewhere. And you almost say,
he knows, maybe he kind of has had an inkling, or he doesn't like that his head coach, Kenny Dillingham, has been he was linked to LSU for a second.
Yeah.
And it sounds
like
he's like, okay, is my coach even going to stay here?
Right.
Before it's even really that real that he's leaving.
And you wonder, like ASU, because ASU hasn't been good for a long period of time. You really wonder, like, how seriously they compete year in and year out, type of thing. And so that's another strategy for me, is looking at these programs that have good players that they just can't keep them around. And so you go, ooh, let's go. And that's really what Texas Tech did, because they go, well, Stanford, they're not going to do it. Georgia Tech, they're not really going to do it. UCF, the coach left, so this player's a little disgruntled. And Houston, the defensive coordinator was at Houston, and he brought one of his guys with him. So I think we'd all love to have a big old pile of money, but I think if you get strategic and look for those, discount places to shop, those bargain basement prices, maybe to have a 50% off sale for damaged merchandise, and you go, it's not that damaged. We can fix that. We can fix your throwing shoulder. You'll be fine.
Plug in the old PS4 that you're buying. You're buying bargain basement, and you're like, it still works.
We're having a good time with it. It's functional. Life is good. Speaking of coaches, Michigan, of course, their head coach embroiled. Of course, they fired him with cause. I really wonder if there wasn't more to it. I wonder if, because some of these names that are showing up, I wonder if Michigan goes, hey, this is not the guy we want as our long-term solution. We're in Michigan. We can get the top names in the country to come here. And I think they were probably looking in that avenue. But what's fascinating, and so as you mentioned, Kenny Dillingham, his name has come up as a potential.
I don't know how real these rumors are yet, but
Right.
it might just be fans and people just talking like, "Hey, Kenny Dillingham would be awesome," considering who might be available. But at this point, this day and age, Scott, whenever there's rumors about a guy, you're never surprised when that guy ends up going to the place.
Right, yeah.
You hear rumors.
When there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is the agents are putting stuff out or just saying, hey, let me give you a heads up, kind of give you kind of, we're kind of leaning this type of direction. It's fascinating, some of these names. Like, I'll give you – so Kalen DeBoer's name has come up with a Michigan job. And quite frankly, I think Michigan fits Kalen DeBoer better than – he's just more of a Midwest guy.
Yeah, he feels more like a Big Ten or even – I mean – he probably felt less like a West Coast guy, even though he had a ton of success at Washington, and his game is throwing the ball. His offensive philosophy is throwing the ball, which is more West Coast than Midwest. But he does kind of feel like Midwest kind of personality. He was at Indiana before going to Washington and had some success there.
So he's a name. Jed Fish is another name who is at Washington.
Sure.
Jed Fish, I think, is a fascinating guy. Jed Fish. So I met Jed Fish, and like he seems like a good guy, but there's something that feels just a little bit like you feel like a used car salesman. I don't know.
There's a little bit disingenuous.
He's just kind of, it's where it's like you're polished, but it feels a little like, I don't want to say slimy because I don't think he's slimy. I think he's just kind of. Maybe it's just did you say
disingenuous?
Disingenuous.
Just not very genuine.
No. Yeah.
Maybe something about him interesting.
Yeah. But because he really did a number on Arizona. I mean, he really got it going, and then boom, he leaves. I guess that's what it is. It's just he's like, yeah, I'm kind of here. Like I talk like I'm going to be here forever, but I'm about 3 steps ahead of you, and I'm not going to be here.
He did do a great job, not just getting that product much better, getting Arizona football to be really good, but also winning people over at Arizona. And then, that's what made it a little bit, I mean, not very surprising because, again, what I said, you see some smoke, there ends up being some fire, you end up leaving. And it's like, okay, well, saw that coming a little bit because of all that we heard. But in hindsight, you're like, he did kind of talk like he wanted Arizona to be the last place he ever coached. And yet he was only there for 3 years. Oh. And he has one really good season and he's gone.
I think it's that he name dropped everyone. He name drops everybody.
Yeah, everyone he worked with the Patriots
he just name drops, Tom and I. And
speaking of his name dropping and his time with the Patriots, is he the only successful coach from Belichick's coaching tree, and albeit in college, but like he might be the only one head coach.
That's a great trivia question right there. Who is the only successful Bill Belichick tree person? There was a time. I want to say it might still hold true. It probably does. Almost it was around 92% of all coaches in the NFL could be traced back to Bill Parcells and Bill Walsh. Like that, because you take a guy like Sean McVay. Sean McVay ultimately went back to Bill Walsh because Sean McVay is an Andy Reid guy an Andy Reid guy is a Mike Holmgren guy. Mike Holmgren guy started with Bill Walsh.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize Holmgren, he started with Bill Walsh.
So I'm in high school, 1985. Mike Holmgren's the quarterback coach at BYU.
Yeah.
In the middle of my recruiting, in fact, when I took my official visit, he was still at BYU. And he was like, dude, you come here, you will be an all, he was giving me the spiel. Like I was drinking the Kool-Aid too. And midway through the recruiting process, he goes, yeah, I got a job as a quarterback coach for the San Francisco 49ers. They just won the Super Bowl with some guy named Joe Montana. So I think I'm going to be taking that job. And so he left, and that was the start of Mike Holmgren.
And then as far as your career and how you ended up at Utah, did BYU just not have as much interest in you after Holmgren left?
Do you want me to tell you this story?
Go for it.
All right, we're going to blow by this next break, but we'll do it. Yeah, so my whole life I'm a BYU fan.
Yeah.
I'm related to Lavelle Edwards. I started going to football camps with Gifford Nilsson when I was 10. He was a former I went to Houston Oilers. I went to multiple Houston Oilers football games. Got a game ball. Well, in fact, 1978, they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Got a game balls, Oilers, Steelers. And so my whole life, I'm going to BYU. I'm a big fan, all this stuff. I'm LDS. I'm a quarterback, the whole thing. Lavelle shows up at my house December 1st, 1985. And he's like, you're our top recruit. He's there with Norm Chow. You're a top recruit. You're going to be, blah, 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 all these things. You come to BYU. And I was like, okay, great. I'm going to BYU. Then I took a recruiting trip to Stanford. In fact, Stanford was the first recruiting trip I took. And I go to Stanford. I'm just blown away. This campus is beautiful. It's amazing. And I go, yeah, this is where I want to go. Jack Elway, John Elway's dad, was the coach at the time. They're in the Pac-10. An amazing education, beautiful campus. Like, why would I not? I could play two sports, which is what I wanted to do. So now I'm like, I'm going to Stanford. So I go through the whole recruiting process. I go to my visit to Utah, which was uneventful, kind of boring. My recruiting trip to BYU, same thing. It's wintertime. They take you up in the mountains. You either go skiing or snowmobiling. And that's kind of the thing. And I just was like, I just in my mind said that the very best place for me is Stanford. Well, Friday before the signing day, which was on a Wednesday in the middle of February, the coach from Stanford, Sonny Lubick, who went on and coached a long time, Colorado State, Miami, really good coach, really good person. And he said, hey, we're going to take this kid from California, so we're not going to offer you a scholarship now. I'm like, okay, great. Thanks. Appreciate it. So I'm panicked because I'm thinking, I always wanted to go to BYU, but then I met Stanford and I changed my mind. So now what? So I do what any good Latter-day Saint does when you're struggling. You pray. So I'm in my room praying Monday night, and the phone rings. It's Jim Fossil, the head coach from the University of Utah, and my mom's yelling in my room, "Hey, Coach Fossil's on the phone." And she didn't know I'm in my room praying. And so I'm thinking, when I hear this, it's like, I don't want to talk to him. I'm tired of talking to all these. I've been talking to these coaches for, I don't want. So
You're like, is he going to call me? And is he calling to tell me he doesn't want to offer me a scholarship?
Yeah,
either?
and it's just, it was more of, I'm just tired of listening to coaches. I've heard this. There's nothing you're going to tell me that's going to be different than you've told me 400 other times.
Yeah.
And so I reluctantly, why I did it, I don't know to this day. So I take the phone call. I'm not even listening to him. Halfway through the phone call, I just get this unbelievable sense of peace come over me. Like I just felt just like, okay, I felt like that was the answer to my prayer. It was like, this is where I need to go to school. It's like very, very personal, very powerful moment. And I never shared it with people for a long, long time. Like I never told anyone, well, I went to Utah because I prayed about it. Like I never told people that for a long time. And so that was why I actually just prayed about it. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions of my life. And it really created a really solid foundation for me moving forward. And it was the very best thing for me personally. And so I have no regret about it at all, but yeah, that's how I ended up at Utah. There you go.
Wow.
Hey, ESPN 791 FM and the Rocky Mountain Chevy dealers invite you to help those at the road home this holiday season with needed blankets, coach shoes, hats, and gloves. Drop off donations at any Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer. Visit ESPN700sports.com for dealer locations. Spread the warmth and help others find their way. All right. Or there's more. Shoot. I think there's more. Hey. Yeah. Hey, the running, this segment and this segment and the last couple, this segment's brought to you by Uinta Golf. Golf. It's golf if you're from Utah. Tease the season at Uinta Golf by Worldwide Golf featuring Titleist golf balls. Titleist Pro V1, my favorite. Pro V1X and Left Dash. 2 dozen bundle, $99. Shop us in store or online at worldwidegolf.com. More to come on the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 700 92.1 FM. Okay, sports fans, welcome back. It's the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Of course, proud to be a part of ESPN's Utah Radio Network. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Sean today and yesterday, of course. Hey, it's Friday. It's Fun Friday. It's Football Friday. It's Fantastic Friday. And, of course, what that means is we invite all of the wonderful people of the world to the program. And joining us now is Lindsay Rhodes from Sumer Sports. She's an NFL analyst for them. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hey, really good. Looking forward to this weekend's games. We've got some good matchups here.
Well, let's start with that. What are the matchups that you really like this weekend?
First and foremost, can't wait for Lions-Rams. I think Lions-Rams is definitely the highlight of the week. I feel like this is a potential NFC championship game preview.
Wow.
These are, two teams. I mean, you could say that about the Rams facing just about anyone in the NFC.
Right.
Honestly,
Yeah.
The NFC is so deep with talented teams this year. It's just wild how condensed the talent seems to be on the NFC side as opposed to the AFC side this season. But that's a different conversation. I'm really, really interested to see how these two teams match up against each other and how it plays out. It's such an important game for the Lions, and it feels really interesting that the Lions are in the position that they're in at this stage of the season. That's not necessarily a game against the Rams that I think is one that I am necessarily expecting them to win, though they certainly could.
Yeah, the Lions, they were the team I picked to actually go to the Super Bowl this year, and they've really had some tough losses I think that were a bit surprising, and it just there seems to be kind of some holes in this team. What do you think it is that the Lions need to do to get back into the championship game with kind of some of the question marks that have happened so far?
Yeah, it's been really interesting because, from a big picture standpoint, they're still playing well. Like, one of the things that we look at in terms of as an indicator of how well teams are actually playing in terms of trying to predict how they'll play in the future is the scoring differential. I think that that's kind of an underrated number that people don't look at as much as they should. Obviously, your record is what matters, and you need to find a way to win games. But there's a story to be told in the scoring differential that points to some variance and maybe sometimes like some fluke. I mean, there is such a thing as, people who play fantasy football might actually even be more tapped into this. Like, you can actually I commissioner a fantasy league for my son's friends, and the player that was in 13th place out of 14 teams by far and away had the most points scored this season out of every team that was like in the bottom half. And he was in 13th place. You only won 3 games. It's just because you happen to kind of catch the schedule in such a way that even though you are good, you're just not getting those lucky breaks. And I think that in some ways we've seen that variance kind of hit the Lions this year. They're plus 90 on the season in terms of scoring differential, which indicates that they actually are still dominating. That's the third highest number in the NFC, and yet they sit in the 8th seed on the outside looking in. I think that we've seen some recent variance for them in the fourth down situation. They're 0 for their last 7, spanning the last 4 games. And so there are people that want them to abandon that approach. I don't think that that would be particularly smart. I think they're just, like I said, mathematically kind of in a weird position as far as like their most recent ones have been unsuccessful. But like early in the season, they converted 6 of their first 7 fourth down attempts. That's unlikely to continue. So just in terms of probabilities, I think they're on the wrong side of variance recently. One of the biggest things that actually does stand out as an area of the team that is not as good as it was last year is the interior offensive line play. And I think we're seeing that sometimes pop up on those fourth downs. Like if it's a 4th and short, it's harder to get that push that you need because you just don't have the interior offensive linemen to help you get it. But I don't think they're dramatically different than they were last year. That's the one position group that I could point to and say, like, that's not hitting the same way. But I think that they should be in it the rest of the way, and I think that they're definitely a team that we can expect to be in every game with the chance to win.
Okay, a lot I want to ask you about what you just said, but I got to start with this. So as the commissioner of this fantasy league, how many fines have you levied so far? And Who's the most egregious? Do you have to find your own son?
Yeah, I mean, they're 11 and 12, so we don't really find them necessarily for their behaviors.
What do you do? Take away the Xbox? What's the punishment?
Oh, all hell would break loose on that. The iPad or the Xbox. Those are the two things we can't touch, or we specifically should touch if we want it to be impactful.
Yeah. Okay, so you talk about this point differential, and so if I'm understanding, how long does it take to kind of have this thing even itself out? It's like, okay, it shouldn't, it's been very, I guess unbalanced in what the results should say. The Lions are still a really good team. Does it balance its out after so many games, or is it something that could bug them for the rest of the season? And it just kind of was, they just got no breaks, or what? Or do you start looking for a trend the other way, where the Lions start winning games here as we get toward the end of the season?
So the way I would describe that, I guess, there's a chance that it could just continue, but in terms of predicting their ability to compete against certain people the rest of the season, I don't see a reason why they shouldn't. I guess that's what I'm saying with regards to the scoring differential. And, like the Chiefs last year, for instance, right? People who watched them were like, I don't know that they're as good as, the things that are happening here in terms of win-loss record and the sometimes that is they benefited from some lucky bounces or favorable variance, I think, last year. And I think this year, in some ways, we've seen that variance come back down to earth. I think for the first half of the season, I thought that the Chiefs actually probably looked better than the Chiefs that we saw on a game-to-game basis last year, but they just weren't dominating in the win column the way that they were last year. So, like, the Chiefs this year are still plus 63 in terms of scoring differential. That's a little bit more like middle of the pack in terms of the AFC picture, but they're sitting in 10th. So at plus 63 and with the 6-7 record, hold on, I'll tell you what they were last year, just so we can compare the two. They were plus 59 last year, and they were in first place at the end of the season, 15-2. So you're just looking at those kinds of things, and you're like, why we look at scoring differential, like, for instance, the Lions last year were plus 222. What they did and what that tells us is not only were they able to find ways to win games, and there's value to that too, but when they played against teams that they should dominate, they did. Yeah. Otherwise, you don't run up the score like that, right? So there are stories to be told within that number that I think are interesting. Obviously, everyone's sitting in their car or whatever right now going like, you are what your record says you are. There's some degree of truth to that in terms of what matters. The name of the game is to win games, and we go by records. But in terms of trying to be predictive, there are always underlying stories that are not excuses, but that are explanations as to why things are happening the way that they are.
You also mentioned that the Lions haven't been having the same success with the fourth down, going for it on fourth down, and all these analytics. This is a newer phenomenon in the NFL. It's like you always just punted, like it's just what you did.
Right.
And I think in college football, and so they're saying no, it's actually better. The odds are that you do this, but then you bring up a point where you go, well, their interior line isn't quite the same as it was in the past. So even though the analytics tell you something, is there ever a time where a coach, it kind of came up here in the state of Utah when two big rivals, Utah, BYU, are playing each other, and the analytics said to go for it, but it felt like, maybe you shouldn't in this situation where, you're trying not to lose some momentum. The crowd, you're at an away game. It's kind of I don't know. It just felt like sometimes your gut feeling might be a better thing to go by than your analytics.
Yeah, and certainly I say this with regards to every quote unquote analytics suggestion or even stat. Like, everything still needs context, and the probabilities are not always reflective of the things that as a coach. Like, if you just lost your left tackle on the last drive and you put a left tackle in his place that is not able to hold anyone off, right? Like you can make decisions, obviously. You're just looking at a probability-based suggestion, and then you do with that what you feel like you need to do with that. I do think one of the things about fourth down that maybe is a little bit underrated is just the sheer number and volume. And I mentioned variance, and we're getting into some like weird mathematical related stuff, but I think it all goes back to probability of, if you figure you're going to convert X percent of the time, this is the average, then the more that you do it, you're still probably likely to hit that percentage. For instance, the Lions, even right now, while people are talking about their struggles on fourth down, are converting their fourth down conversion rate on the season is 52%. That is roughly in alignment with what they've done every year since Dan Campbell has been there on fourth down, except for last year. And last year they were like a massive historical outlier in that they just converted a ton. So we got very used to them converting above and beyond the expectation. And now they are just doing exactly what they have done in years past. They're not struggling any more than they have since he's been there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And also worth noting, in their film, we went back and looked at every single fourth down attempt for them on the season. A couple of weeks ago, we did a podcast on this, and they had gone for it 25 times. Their conversion rate was 52%. Out of the ones that they had not converted, there were 4 drops. Like drops, meaning the play call was fine, the execution was fine to the point where it was dropped, which is something we expect wide receivers to not do, right? If those 4 balls had been completed, they'd have a 68% conversion rate on fourth down, which would be one of the best in the league. So it's just there are like things that happen that you're like, so are you going to go blow up your whole approach there? Because Jamison Williams dropped the ball, or Amon-Ra St. Brown had one of those drops. He doesn't drop the ball, you're not expecting him to continue dropping it all the time if you keep throwing it at him. So I think that there's just some stuff there where that's why the coaches, when they go back and look at it, they're like, I actually think that the call was right and we just didn't execute, And so I don't know how to change my approach unless you just continually don't execute. And then we have to adjust our expectations for what you can do and what we should call as a result.
So this is why coaches just, I don't know, have health issues, don't sleep at night, and just
drop 7 F-bombs in post-game press conferences.
Yeah, which is kind of where I was going to go. So Todd Bowles, I guess he just had enough of these drops and this inconsistency with his team. I'm curious about your general thoughts about, him doing that. Was it the right time? Is it ever the right time? I don't know. What did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, 2 things. I'm sure he woke up this morning and wishes that he hadn't done that, right? Like there's so much potential fallout from that, calling people out.
Yeah.
Unless there are people in that locker room, players, the majority of the players also feel the same way and know exactly who he was talking about. That's the only way that I can see that actually playing out fine. If everyone in the building is like, dude, do your job, And then if they feel like he's talking about that guy and I want him to call out that guy. But in the event that that's not the case, it just feels like there's so much to be lost from this. And if that guy, quote unquote, that he's essentially sending this message to is on the field at this stage of the season, my guess is that's because you need that guy. And so rather than turning him against you down the stretch, you got to find a way to pull him in. You got to find a way to get that out of him. And I mean, it's possible that this lights a fire, but the way that he vented felt more like, I'm frustrated. It's not all my fault. Stop talking about it like it's my fault. Other people need to do their stuff. And I just don't know that ever really works.
Yeah. So I do this fun thing. I fill in for Sean here on this show, but I have my own show here on ESPN 700. And one of the things that I do every week, I pick the NFL games, and I only pick who's going to win. So I don't go by the spread or all that, or
okay, yeah.
It's not fantasy or anything. So it's just who's going to win, who's going to lose. Because to me, like you said, it's all about winning or losing these games that really matters at the end of the day. And this week, as I was going through the games, I'm like, I'm picking most of the home teams. And
are you?
Oh yeah, I just got a lot of home teams. Now, not everyone, but it's a high percentage of home teams. What is the kind of what do the analytics say about home teams winning in the NFL? Percentages, how often, what is I've already made my pick, so I I don't know, but or I mean I so I can't use this information, but is there anything that analytics to say that the home field advantage helps?
I don't know. That's a really interesting question. I would imagine that just based on without knowing the answer to that, and I can ask around and I can get that back to you. But I'm guessing that just based on what the lines, like what Vegas does with the lines,
right,
and the way that being a home team does actually benefit you from a line standpoint.
Yeah.
My guess is that is rooted in some sort of data and not just a sense of like something unrelated. So
yeah.
my guess is that there is an advantage, and that if you looked at them and you said, gosh, this one's tight, I'm going to give it to the home team, or like that's the edge, that's how I'm going to split my tie. My guess is that that's probably backed up by numbers.
Okay, for a brief moment, there are two games we have here on our ESPN network in Utah this week. So we've got the Sunday night game with the Vikings and the Cowboys, and that's here on our ESPN 792.1 FM game, also on the ESPN 700 app. Give me your kind of thoughts on this game. And the Vikings are very interesting this year. I think the Cowboys are very interesting. I should ask you about, so how does drama, like, because Jerry Jones loves the drama. How much does does drama play into what do the analytics tell you about drama? Anyways, I'm joking about that, but I think you should study that. If you have more drama, you're liable to win 44% more of your games. Anyways, tell me what your thoughts are on the Vikings and the Cowboys this Sunday night.
I feel like I'm excited to watch when Dallas has the ball, and less excited to watch when Minnesota has the ball, because this is a game where it's very strength on strength and weakness on weakness.
Right?
Like the Vikings defense, we all know what they're able to do with their creative blitzes and all that kind of stuff. When I look at, we have a newsletter at Sumer Sports that we will send out. If you subscribe to it, you can do so at sumersports.com. There's a newsletter every week that comes to your inbox that has every single game and the rankings for each team in various advanced statistical categories, like so that you see it in matchup form. So, dark green means you're the best and dark red means you're the worst, that kind of thing. So it's pretty easy to eyeball. If you go look at that particular page for the Cowboys offense versus the Vikings defense, it's a whole lot of green. It's like both of these teams are very good at just about everything, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And then you flip it to the other side, and it's just a lot of red and orange. Like no one's good at anything here. The Cowboys' run defense has obviously gotten better since Quinnen Williams has been there, and they've really, their interior defensive line is just wild. I think I give the edge in that game to Dallas for that reason, and because I don't think, like, when they face a really good offense, that doesn't, I don't think about that as much. Like the Cowboys defensive line going up against the Lions, I'm like, okay, that's still, the Lions are going to run the ball, they're going to be fine, right? That type of a matchup. I don't think that the strengths of the Cowboys defense actually will have much impact against that type of an offense. But when you're the Vikings offense and you're really struggling anyway, and you've got a quarterback who is struggling and maybe holds on to the ball and isn't seeing the field as well, then that type of pressure coming from the middle or the inside could have the ability to make quite an impact. And then, Cowboys offense versus the Vikings defense, I think, will be just a fascinating one to watch.
A team that's really intrigued me, and we haven't even talked about Phillip Rivers and the Indianapolis Colts, but and I'll get to that next. But really quick, the Houston Texans, they seem to be a team to, like, man, you got to watch out for them. Why should we be watching out for the Houston Texans, or am I crazy?
No, their defense is bonkers. Their defense is so good, and I find myself saying a lot that, like, I'm not a really big believer in building your team from the defense. Like the people who say like, hey, actually, and this makes me look stupid because the one person who I can point to that has said it recently, and I rolled my eyes, is just crushing in the AFC, and that's Vrabel, where, you know, when you take a job and you're like, hey, we're going to get back to like running the ball and strong on defense. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, from a number standpoint, that literally doesn't win games. Like it just doesn't, because defense is reactive, right? Like, I mean, it just makes sense that you can only play as well on defense. Like you can force them into things that they don't want to be in, but if they are really good at diagnosing what you're trying to do, and then they're really good at getting the ball out at just the right moment, like a good offense will beat a good defense. But that said, that's the calling card that the Texans have that very few teams in the AFC this year have, which is a really clear and obvious strength. And if you go look at the rest of the AFC, I mean, the teams that are in the playoffs, like, I mean, what are they good at? And it's so hard to isolate that. I mean, I think that the Patriots are a good team. Buffalo has Josh Allen, and that's pretty much where Denver
Right.
has a good defense. Sitting atop, I mean, how are they 11-2? Like I've watched their offense play, and I keep waiting to be wowed, and I am not.
Right.
But you know, the way that their schedule has gone, they're able to knock out these wins, and their defense is keeping the score down. So they have a strength. What's Pittsburgh's? Like, what is it?
Yeah.
The Chargers. What is it? Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert scrambling now. He is the second leading. He has the second most rushing yards for quarterbacks this year. That's a problem. Like that should not happen. That means he is running for his life because that's not who he is. But so I guess the strength with the Houston Texans is that their defense is just very, very strong. So many guys on the line that can create that pressure, and guys on the back end that are doing a good job. And then the offense is getting better, and they're better than they were last year. Like we're actually seeing some glimpses of like, okay, we can work with this on the offensive line, which is not what we saw last year at all.
What are the odds that a 44-year-old, 5-year retired, probably Hall of Famer comes back and is successful?
I'm going to go with not good. I'm going to go with not good odds. That's what I'm going to guess here. Yeah, poor Indianapolis, man, because and you're obviously referring to Phillip Rivers. I jumped in there before you finished your thought. The fact that they have had the season that they had surprised all of us. Maybe they'll continue to surprise all of us, right? Like maybe they're just doing such a good job from a play design and that's what set Daniel Jones up to have the success that he had, particularly in the first half of the season. I can't imagine that Phillip Rivers being this removed from playing in the NFL. Like, what will his arm look like? Like, we've seen it with Aaron Rodgers this year, and he's still on the cusp where he can make those throws downfield, but he cannot do it very frequently, which is why their average depth of target is so low. I mean, their short rate, 75% of their passes, the Steelers, are short. They are dead last in intermediate throws, in terms of like intermediate throw rate. Like there's a story there that to me has a lot to do with Aaron Rodgers' arm. His average depth of target last year was very, very low. And so I think what we're seeing with him and with that offense is part of the story of his decline physically and how they've figured out a way to try and work around it. Get the ball out fast, get the ball to someone really quickly who can just try to pick up yards after the catch, get it to them in space ideally, and use his brain to diagnose where the right spot is to go on the field, because that's not going to decline depending on how many ayahuasca retreats you go to. But Phillip Rivers, I would say my expectation is that the same is likely true when he comes back. And so they'll have to adjust for that. But the good news is that he's apparently been talking to their coaching staff all season because he was running the same offense for the team that he was coaching. So he'll at least be familiar with what they're doing.
I just hope it happens. I just want to watch it. I don't. If he's horrible, it's entertaining. If he's great, it's even better. So it's all good.
And against the Seahawks out of the gate, holy
right.
welcome. welcome
Right.
back to the NFL, Philip Rivers. Here's like arguably the best defense in the NFL. Have fun.
Hey, if you're going to come back big. So go against the best. Yeah. All right, Lindsay, really appreciate your time. Have a great weekend. Thank you. It's wonderful stuff, wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. You have a great weekend.
All right, there you have it. Lindsay Rhodes, Sumer Sports. Good stuff. I just love all that. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, none other than the namesake of this show is going to join us. We have some grievances to air when Sean O'Connell returns to the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Hey, sports fans, welcome back. This is the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. I'm Scott Mitchell, filling in for Sean today. I am the middle reliever and the closer. So I did Thursday and Friday, which is always fun. I love filling in for Sean. And I love when I get the opportunity to actually have the namesake of the show join in the show. And, of course, it's always fun to find out where Sean is. I believe is in France. Is that 7 or 8 hours behind us? I don't know which one. Welcome to the show, Sean. Welcome to your show.
Thanks, Scott. I am currently 8 hours ahead of you. It's
Okay.
9:30 p.m.-ish.
I'm always curious. I've got all this time between I catch up to 9:30. So what's the rest of my day going to be like since you've already lived it?
There's going to be a bunch of crazy stuff that happens right around 4:30 p.m.
Okay.
You're going to have some technical difficulties with your computer and your phone, so just get ready for it.
Did I have a good meal, though? That's what I want to know.
Definitely had a really good meal. You found you will find a nice little gourmet French farmers market.
Ooh.
And you'll order a bunch of things you don't know how to pronounce nor know the meaning of and eat those.
Have you had frogua?
I had foie gras with my dinner last night. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty good, isn't it? I kind of like it.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good. It's very distinct and very flavorful. So for me, you got to kind of spread it out.
Right.
But yeah, really good.
So tomorrow, PFL championship fight in with Lyon, France.
Lyon, France.
Lyon. Yes.
Well, Lyon is just a French way to say it. It directly translates to lion. What
Right.
a cool name for a city.
Yeah.
And we've got actually 2 world title fights: 145-pound women's championship, and then heavyweight world championship for the men. And it's going to be a fun one. So ESPN Plus, you got to go on the app in order to find it in the United States. And let's see, first fight here is at 6, which means 10 a.m. for the fans in Utah.
Very nice. We'll check it out. Very cool that you do that, and glad to have you on the show. Of course, as everyone heard at the beginning of the segment, it is the time for the airing of the grievances. Who do you want to go first since it's your show? I've got a grievance, but I'm happy to, acquiesce to your decision-making.
Tell you what, I'm gonna impose my will here, and I'm gonna go first because mine's gonna be quick.
Okay.
And I just want to say I'm airing my grievance with the hockey gods right now.
Oh, yeah.
Logan Cooley's out for 8 weeks, which is going to be incredibly damaging to the Mammoth playoff hopes. After a really incredible start to the season, things have just kind of gone further and further south. And now with injuries and attrition potentially being a part of the equation, it's looking like we're not going to have an overachieving year in Salt Lake City as far as hockey goes. And then I know you're aware of this, Scott. We're, 50 days away or so from the Olympic break, where NHL players are expected to go to Milan, Italy, and participate in in Olympic hockey for the first time in quite a while, except the arena is nowhere near done.
Oh.
And the photos that came out yesterday or today, it's not like they need to put the final coats of paint on this thing. One whole end of the arena is still open to the air.
Wow.
It's like not even a fully enclosed building yet, much less having the Jumbotron installed and all these other things going on. So I'm starting to feel a lot more skeptical that we're going to get NHL players on Olympic ice because they've said multiple times, player representatives and owners have said multiple times, we are not going to send NHL players to go play in an arena where the ice or the rink or the building is not safe or ready. And it looks like Italy is dropping the ball on this. So, that combined with the injuries, it's all bad hockey news. Grievance.
Man, that the hockey gods are just not being kind. Will they still be able to hold the hockey in the arena if it's not enclosed, or is it just
no?
Wow.
They're not going to be if they can't fill in that back end of it. I mean, I think it's just going to be glass. so maybe you can stretch some saran wrap over it or something like that. But man, it's a really bad shape right now.
My sister lives in Portugal, and getting construction done over in Europe is not a timely thing. So maybe it's just par for the course in what they do over in Europe. But that could be terrible. All right, here's my grievance. My grievance is with the stupid roads in downtown Salt Lake. Like whoever put all of these barrier, like you had the nicest, widest, biggest streets in downtown Salt Lake, and they've just basically eliminated. And I get really confused because I was so used to, I think there's pretty much 2 lanes on every road, but now they've shrunk it down. And so if you're at a light, which happened to me today coming to the studio, and I wanted to turn right at a light, and there used to be a lane there, but now they have this big cement barrier, and they've got they have striping on it like a high school football field for all the sports like soccer and lacrosse and I don't know what all the different green or yellow and red colors mean. Can you go in this lane? And you can't even go in the lane. You don't want to go in the lane because you'd have to drive over this huge. I mean, it's probably 25 square feet of concrete that you cannot pass. And so you're at a light, and there's all the cars are at the light, and you have to wait for the light to turn green, and all the cars in front of you. Whereas you'd be able to just turn right. And when this first happened, and it's been some time ago, they started putting in all these crazy barriers, and I guess the speed limit's about 4 miles an hour in downtown Salt Lake, and it's just so silly. I think they're just trying to say we don't want cars here. We really want to just make this a pedestrian thing. But I ran over a concrete barrier turning a corner on a street, and I thought I had just ruined my vehicle. I didn't even see this stuff, and it just and so whoever did this, I have a grievance with you. I'm extremely annoyed, and I'm sure I'm going to have all of the tree hugging people just absolutely furious with me right now because I've offended their strategic plan to get rid of cars. There you have it.
Valid grievance. I will echo.
All right. James, I think, do we have grievances? Because people, I guess I didn't tell the people to check in on their grievance. Do you have a grievance?
We do have one listener.
I'm afraid that people are going to have a grievance with me being here. They're going to say, get that guy off the air. That's my grievance. What is he talking about? We have one listener grievance that's come in. 877-353-0700 air your grievances, unburden yourself, like OC likes to say, before the weekend, before a bowl weekend, before an Army-Navy weekend. You're on ESPN 792.1 FM. One of them, this one that's come in, is they're confused with Trevor Riley, who's done a couple interviews this week. Take a number on that, but go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
On saying that Utah has zero NIL money.
Is that the grievance, or is it?
Yeah, they're
not.
Well, they're not sure. They said they've heard other reports that says they're doing decently well with NIL money. Maybe you guys both have connections with the University of Utah. Can you help clarify things here? Because Trevor, that's totally true. Trevor comes on and on and off air tells anyone who wants to hear it or doesn't want to hear it, Utah has no money for NIL, even with this private equity deal that's about to come through. Can you guys clarify any of that for our listeners, for our guy who texted in here?
So I would be speculating, and so my speculation is I speculate that they probably have something. What that is, and maybe what it potentially could be, because part of it, I believe they get maybe the opportunity for the $20.5 million revenue sharing. That usually comes like in the summer, if I understand correctly. So they could potentially say, hey, we don't have the money right now, or maybe they say when we sign this private equity, then we'll actually have funding available. And that could happen early this year or whatever. But it's based off of what they're getting over the summer. So they're almost making a promise off of money they're getting. That would be my speculation. So I don't think they're and they very possibly could have other people that have donated or put money in and just said, like, this is a critical time. The portal is opening January 2nd, which is just a few weeks away. And so maybe there's someone who floated him a loan or did something, a donor or something, until that money actually comes in. So I would think they're not totally out of money, but maybe not flush with cash, unless you know something different, Sean.
No, I think that when, Trevor likes to speak in superlatives sometimes, and when he says we have no money, I think what he's doing is he's saying comparatively with some of the schools that you expect Kyle Whittingham, Morgan Scalley, et cetera, all the people on the staff to be able to compete with, you don't have the same level of money that Texas Tech has, that USC has, that Oregon has, and that BYU has. And I think that's where he continues to voice concern, and it might be a bit of an exaggeration. Well, it certainly is a bit of an exaggeration to say Utah has no money, but I think the point he's trying to make is that Utah has not been able to rely on money to win them recruiting battles, and that is part of the reason why this private equity deal is something that people have to pay close attention to, and have to, as you're making your judgment about whether or not this was a good idea for the athletic department, you have to remember that you've got to keep up with the Joneses. And whoever you think those Joneses are that you care about competing with, you have to keep up with them. And finding money from, the traditional donor base is not a fruitful or sustainable plan all the time. We just saw this with, a very famous quote from Troy Aikman, right? I mean, that's a high-profile example of someone who's never going to have to worry about money for the rest of his life, but he's still not just going to hand over cash to his alma mater if he's feeling no appreciation, if he's feeling no return on investment, if he's feeling whatever. So it's just the handout please and thank you thing is not really sustainable for most schools. And I would say it's probably only sustainable for less than 25 schools in the country. So I think that's what Trevor's alluding to. Obviously, Utah has some money because you just got an announcement on a young player that everyone's excited about, Bert Ficklin, basically renewing his contract, which is a crazy thing to be saying about college sports, but that's where we're at.
Another listener grievance. I hate the mystery of the college football playoff ranking system. Turns me off as a college football fan entirely. I think everyone who's a college football fan probably echoes that one, right, guys?
I don't think there's any question about that. And, you're starting to hear grumblings from people that I think would surprise you, from some of these big-time conferences. And, the only solution is that everyone has to be on equal playing ground in every conference. And I just don't see that happening. So it's just a necessary evil. I think even if you expand the playoffs, you're still going to have people who are disgruntled, and there's always going to be some subjective formula. And as long as there's a subjective nature into determining who gets in and out of the college playoffs, it's going to be a massive turnoff thing. But I think one thing you're hearing maybe even more of is a lot of college football fans are being turned off just by the whole process, whether it's like Troy Aikman, who goes, I'm just not going to throw money and watch some kid take my NIL money and then in a year go to another school. That makes no sense at all. You wonder about the players. Do they have a sense of what kind of the impact of their behavior is having on the game as a whole? And I think it's hard to realize that because these players don't play very long. They play at a school for max 4 or 5 years, and so I think they just, hey, I don't care what this impact has. I'm going to get mine and I'm going to move on. And maybe there should be more of a let's think about the long-term health and impact of this game with some of the decisions we're making. I don't know that would ever happen, but it might be a smart thing to have happen. Any thoughts, Sean?
I think you just hit it on the head. I don't think that if they do know the impact from a player standpoint, I don't know how you make them care, because like you said, some of these guys acknowledge that they have a very, very brief window to capitalize on their earning potential. And all the athletes who preceded them and all the fans who watched for decades and decades in the old model can kind of sit back and judge what's going on now. But you weren't in the position of being an 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old that was, hearing negotiations or part of negotiations that could change your future, could change your family's future. And it's hard to know what you would do in that case. And most of us, it's just not the reality that, you're a young person who's got $1 million or $2 million, or, if you're going to a place like Michigan or Ohio State, you might have as much as $8 or $10 million coming your way before you're truly developed as a human being. So it's just hard to blame the kids for this. This is a fault of the adults in the room, not just now, but, for the past 25 years, knowing this was coming down the pipe and not setting up guardrails and coming up with a better system.
All right, there you have it. The airing of the grievances with the namesake, Sean O'Connell. Enjoy your evening in France. If anything significant happens that I may need to be aware of for the rest of my day, just give me a text. And other than that, have a lovely evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, I'll let you know. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you.
You got it. All right, Sean O'Connell from France. Hey, ESPN 792.1 FM and the Rocky Mountain Chevy dealers invite you to help those at the road home this holiday season with needed blankets, coats, shoes, hats, and gloves. Drop off donations at the Rocky Mountain Chevy dealer. Visit ESPN700sports.com for dealer locations. Spread the warmth and help others find their way home. Topical trivia is coming up next here on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 792.1 FM. All righty, sports fans, welcome back. Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 792.1 FM. Of course, Sean is gone, and he's let the inmates run the asylum, and I happen to be the top inmate or crazy person available. So, Scott Mitchell here. It's been fun the last couple of days. We're getting down to the end of it. We're going to do a topical trivia real quick here. You get 4 tickets to an advanced screening for Avatar, Fire and Ash at Jordan Commons on December 16th. All right, here's the question. The name of the player, we talked about him early on in the show, who had to go have emergency surgery for dry needle therapy. So that's the question. Joining us on the show right now, of course, is none other than Spence Checketts. He's the namesake of The Drive with Spence Checketts, which is right around the corner. He's kind enough to join us for a little crosstalk here. So you're familiar with dry needle therapy?
Well, I've never done it. I just know what it is because I've read about it.
What is it?
So you know what acupuncture is, right?
Yes. Yeah.
It's like an exaggerated version of that. The needles are bigger. They go deeper. I always hate the radio guy that's like, hey, I'm not a doctor, but here's what you saw.
Right.
It's not like I'm some expert.
Yeah.
But this isn't the first time that Watt has got into trouble with this procedure.
Yeah.
So, you know, like acupuncture is needles that are just, you know, they kind of put them in. They're
right.
But the dry needling thing is much deeper.
Ah.
And I've heard it's effective. And I'm dealing with a ridiculously bad back right now. So if you have any black market Toradol shots, go ahead and send them my way because we were talking about that.
Yeah, I don't know if so. Yeah, so Toradol was a very famous or popular drug amongst the kids back in the day, and when I played in the NFL, and it supposedly did not have addictive properties to it, and it yet still had. Now I've had Toradol shots and they work. Like I was a fan, but apparently it's come out, of course, that there's it had. I mean, look at me now. I'm the effects of Toradol shots. So
what is that supposed to mean?
Well,
Scott?
if you want, it's just kind of a personal deprecation on about myself. So if you want to look like me when you get older, Spence, then take Toradol shots. I guess that's what it is.
How are the knees doing, by the way?
Not good.
Not good.
No, no. Okay. I have arthritis and I was like, and I went to the doctor. I was in so much pain I could hardly walk.
Yeah.
And I went to the doctor and he's like, hey, you got arthritis. And I go, there's no way that arthritis is this pain. It's just, and of course I got a cortisone shot and boy, it has really helped. But, I don't know what will happen long term, but yeah, very painful. In fact, getting out of bed is an experience for me every day.
See, I'm dealing with a bad back and like like we had Dr. Hill in studio yesterday, right?
Okay.
I was like, yeah, as I'm getting older, and he's laughing at me. You know,
right.
It's like I'm old enough where I'm just no longer young.
Yeah.
And so I just don't want to age because if it feels like this right now, I don't know. I don't want to know what it feels like in 15 years.
Yeah. So it's good and bad, you know, like your brain's still good, you know, but your body doesn't match up with it a little bit. I think you'll be fine. I think
I have pretty good habits.
Well, you take good care of yourself, and that's so much of it. You know, the one thing they do say that's like, there's a couple of things. One of the things they say that's very, very beneficial to your health is weight strength training.
Yeah, I lift.
Yeah, that is a known very, very important key element to long-term health and activity. So
yeah, I stopped. So I just was kind of like doing yoga and walking the dog for a few years, and I felt like that was kind of working a little bit.
Right.
And also I lifted a lot when I was young, so I had some body imbalances.
Yeah.
And then I subluxed a rib, I tore a rotator cuff, and then I had to have surgery on my knee. And my physical therapist said the same thing. He's like, all you guys in your 40s make the same mistake. You stop lifting.
Yep.
He's like, when did you lift? When's the last time you lifted regularly? I'm like, yeah, 5-6 years ago. He's like, get back in. Put me on a program, and for about 2.5, 3 years, I've been back lifting. It makes a big difference. My thing is, with this job, you sit down for hours in a row.
Yes, you do.
And then I had like a 13-hour travel day from New York to Salt Lake over Thanksgiving.
Oh.
And since then, it's just everything's been locked up.
Yeah.
See, sports talk radio should be two old men complaining about their bodies breaking down. I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Okay, and you can handle this however you want. You might have to be a little careful here. Because I can remember like just growing up around pro sports and in NBA
Yeah.
locker rooms, when I was younger, you just kind of think like they're all such great husbands and fathers.
Right.
None of them would ever cheat on their wives.
Right.
Right. Because you didn't know any better when you were
Yes.
like 10, 11, 12. And then I'll leave the name off air. It was a public thing, but a New York Knicks player who I loved, was like my idol,
Right.
got in trouble and divorced from his wife because he had an affair with a Knicks City dancer, essentially the Knicks cheerleaders.
Yeah.
And it like shattered my entire world.
Yeah.
My father, with his wisdom, sat me down and said, son, let's have a conversation about this. So, it's time for you to grow up a little bit to understand just like how common this is, not only with pro athletes, but in the world, quite
Right.
frankly. Athletes are not the only people that maybe don't necessarily adhere to the rules of marriage.
Right.
But this Sharon Moore story, dude, like I cannot shake it. In a matter of weeks, his life is more or less ruined. Now, there's several examples recently in the world of sports. Ime Udoka, Boston Celtic coach, stepped out on his wife. Everyone's like, he'll never work again. He's coaching the Rockets, and he's doing a great job. But Sharon Moore seemed like the type of guy that was kind of lucky to get the Michigan job because he was a Harbaugh disciple, and they had won a national championship, and he was the interim coach when Harbaugh had to sit, and he actually did a good job. So I felt like a guy like that should know, I cannot believe that I kind of fell forward into this. And he just couldn't control himself.
Right.
Right. And so the consequences for him are you've lost your job. He's got about 16 mil left on his deal. He's not seeing a penny of that.
Yep.
And I've got to imagine his wife is like, dude, you can get gone. And now he's sitting in a jail cell, charged with 3 separate, charges that are serious.
Yeah. Very serious.
Did you witness a lot of this throughout your career? Just guys who just ruined their lives because they couldn't, for lack of a better phrase, keep it in their pants?
Yeah. Okay. So you've asked a lot of things. There's a lot of answers in this, and the answer to your last question is, it was an era that was a little bit different. It wasn't quite because I feel like the Sharon Moore thing. I feel like there was more to it. Like I'll just say, the experience of like infidelity and all that type of thing, very common, among coaches. Among front office, I mean, it's not just players.
Yeah.
It's, in fact, a lot of players are single. Like the players are more about, a paternity or some girlfriend or something.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not so much that a lot of the players aren't even married. So it felt like to me that there was someone that was out to get him. Like they didn't like that he was the Michigan coach. And they, of course, knew dirt on him, and they were like, "Okay, we're gonna make this happen." And the reaction to it, or the response from Sharon is like it's head scratching. So maybe there was a whole lot more that was going on there. You just never know. I had a coach once, and he said no means no, and maybe means no, and yes means no in the morning. So just don't ever just stay away from it. And I think I think it's probably, in fact, I asked my agent, I go, what is the one thing that is the most challenging thing you have to face? Now, my agent's been in the business for a long time, and he's represented some of the biggest names and he's represented all kinds of players. And he said it's relationships, whether marriage, girlfriend, or all of this. He says it's the absolute worst and most difficult thing that I've had to deal with as an agent forever. So it's a real problem.
Yeah.
Now I did have a situation that was quite interesting. The players had, your family would all sit in the same section. You get tickets in the same section.
Yeah.
I Freudian slip right there. And anyways, the same section. And so this one game, this guy's doing well, and his wife's like, yeah, way to go. And there's a woman sitting right next to his wife, and she's cheering for the same player. And she doesn't know who she is. And so the wife looks to this girl next to her and says, well, how do you know my husband? And she goes, your husband? And she goes, well, she goes, how do you know my boyfriend?
Well, then
right?
he's an idiot.
Well, of course
he's
an
a
idiot.
moron.
Of course he's a moron, right? But these people are morons. Most of them are.
Like, don't cheat on your wife, but don't put your girlfriend next to your wife in the family section.
So he's in the locker room after the game, and the equipment manager comes up to him and says, listen, your wife and your girlfriend are waiting outside for you.
Oh dear.
And just to give you a heads up, and it wasn't a pretty situation,
Yeah.
and it never was. I think it's a really hard thing because as a professional athlete or coach or whatever, you kind of feel like you're different, and you feel like, oh yeah, all these women just love, I can have whoever, whenever, however I want, and it's just not reality. But I think it is one of the hardest things that men have to kind of keep it in their pants. I think it's a brutally hard thing. So I don't know that there's a good answer. I don't know that it'll ever change. It certainly has taken down a lot of people through the course of time, and professional. I mean, you look at Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
I mean, I lived by Tiger in Orlando,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, you have an absolutely beautiful wife. Why in the world would you even? I mean, his wife was just stunningly beautiful, and just like, I don't get it. So, it never makes ever sense to me.
Yeah.
So,
good insight. I mean, you played the game, so always interested to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. So, there's more I'll tell you off the air.
All right. Fair enough.
This has been the Sean O'Connell Show here on ESPN 700. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Scott Mitchell. Coming up next is The Drive with Spence Checketts. Until then, we'll see you then, folks.